Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and Brian Scarborough, Fixed Air Moon for Spiritual Daddy on this Virgo season, August 22nd of 2022. The sun just left Leo, is now in Virgo, and we got a big show tonight. But before we go into it, make sure that you join us down below at any of the links for our apps or our website, highvibe.tv, or on the apps to watch all the exclusive content. Become a member, get daily horoscopes, weekly horoscopes, all the very deep and intense astrology, tarot, and so much more. There's so many other awesome practitioners on there doing their daily and weekly videos as well. You're missing out on the Disruptive Spiritual Network, highvibe.tv. You can sign up through your Apple, your Android, and 7-day free trial if you do it through there too. And we also have really good 6-month plans, 3-month plans are on highvibe.tv. What is going on, Brian?
Happy Virgo season. It was kind of funny.
Virgo.
Literally minutes after the sun came into Virgo, you're out there organizing cars. I was like, it must be Virgo season. And sure enough, 10 minutes in, we're in there. So hope everybody's ready. What a weird Leo season it was. Definitely not the vibe I'm used to for a Leo season, but last year kind of had a similar vibe. But so it goes with Saturn opposing during the summertime
And Jupiter retrograding. I've been saying that for years. I've been I've been that astrologer that is like, yo, Jupiter retrogrades suck. Deflation. It's the balloon popping in the middle of summer. It's unique because, every year we just move 1 month ahead of when Jupiter retrogrades. So now we're in the peak of summer. And after all the years of all this crazy shit we've been through.
We haven't gotten like good Jupiter time in a very long time.
I know.
It's weird. And even like Jupiter in Pisces was weird with Neptune there and just all the other.
Yeah, Jupiter's like, this was my house, yo.
Yeah, now who are you?
Like, who are you, bro?
You haven't been here since 1856.
Poseidon. Oh, shit, my brother. My brother with no kids.
Yeah, brother's home.
Like, that's the whole weird part, yeah.
It's just been interesting. But yeah, Virgo season. What a wild Virgo season it looks like it's going to shape up to be, too. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be alive. I mean, if there's one thing, it's just like you might as well wake up every day and get ready to experience reality. And at this point, just purify it and clean things up, because I think we all have some cleanup on aisle 9 somewhere in our life that needs to go down. So, Well, and I like that you brought up how weird this Leo season's been, because it, especially as being a double Leo, I felt it, and I was like, gosh, that huge. It had moments that I think you have to cherish. Yes.
Like, it was like this Leo season was actually more powerful because it wasn't lost in just like the fun of Leo. It was like, here are these most beautiful moments that it highlighted. That's what I think Saturn in Aquarius, Jupiter retrograde, the new moon that was trine Jupiter too, right? Like, it was like, here's specifically what is the bomb. Everything else is not.
It straight up felt like, here's the little bits of happiness this reality has for you to carve out. You better take them seriously. In a fun way.
True.
But take the good times seriously and don't let it pass by. Because everything else is so like discombobulated in a weird but kind of beautiful way. But it was like, just take the beautiful moments and cherish them, like you said. That was well put. Because that was what it was all about. Like, here's your moments of happiness. And then the Leo season felt more like, are you going to be courageous? Are you going to like step up into your happiness, into your heart, through the discombobulation and the weirdness and the disconnection here and the disconnection there, but trying to find connection in these very like memorable, happy places in our lives. So I don't know. I learned a lot. I'm excited for the progression into Virgo. We get to kind of dial things up. And I think, Virgo brings that purity, of course. And it's like, let's put the cherry on top. It reminds me of weddings. Like
what do you wait
Virgo reminds me of weddings in a sense.
Virgo reminds you of weddings,
right? Yeah, I said this in a horoscope because it's like you have everything planned out for this wedding, right? And it's like the day you get to the wedding and you're like trying to put the cherry on everything. Like, it's got to be dialed up. You want the suits, the dress, the everything. Is everything going to be in order? Is it going to go as planned? So it's all this like, we have all these plans, but we're also in this place where
Is that because I showed you that Very Bad Things movie?
Maybe that popped up. That was the funniest movie.
I showed Brian Very Bad Things from '98 with Christian Slater and God, there's so many. What's her name's in it?
Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz, and that movie. I mean, if you really think about it, it got jacked. A lot of movies jacked from that movie.
Yeah,
A Vegas Trip gone bad, like really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now she's so obsessed with the wedding and how Virgo season is like she's like always on the phone, like putting the chairs in certain places, and like when the kid fucking comes in, just smashes it over. She freaks out. It was so funny because that movie was so dark, but it was so comedic too.
Hilarious movie. If you've never seen it, like it took me 32 and a half years to see that movie. I recommend, watching that movie. It's dark. You have to have a dark sense of humor, I guess, because otherwise you might get, you might not like it, but damn, was it funny. But that's kind of where it's at, is like all of our chairs are getting fucking smashed, and like how big of a fit are we going to throw, and can we like clean things up in a way that makes sense in our own personal lives, so that we're not, crying over one singular moment, but moving into the next moment and the next moment and staying present, I think is going to be an important lesson, I guess, for us all, because there's a guilt that can come with Virgo season 2, where it's like you don't think it was enough, or you didn't plan well enough, or you didn't harvest, up until this point, you didn't get a good crop, so you're feeling down, like you can't kind of make it through where things are going. And I think
it's guilt perfectionism, like, right? It's not so perfect enough, exactly. Or it's not specifically exactly the way you want it. It's like having high hopes of going to your favorite restaurant and them just like the service wasn't as good, and you're trying to show like your friends, your family friends or something, and like
they all went to shit,
and like the waitress like has been spun out on tweak for fucking 3 weeks and has her breakdown, and she throws the food all over the place, and her ex-boyfriend comes in, and it's like,
that's it.
I think with all the Leo stuff and the numbness that is kind of like surrounding these beautiful highlights that we saw, it brings up loneliness. I feel like, especially all this Saturn Aquarius energy, which is so powerful because it's been around for so long in its home sign, because it was also in Capricorn since 2017 at the end. So it's been a long haul, but I feel like isolation is themes, or loneliness especially, or just feeling that. And I think that the problem is the spiritual community is like puts out things like you can't feel loneliness, or that means you're not happy in yourself, or you don't love yourself. And then that makes people, I think, feel worse if they come into Virgo season being like, oh God, I must not, I need to figure out my own happiness. It's like, you can be the happiest, love your job, love all these things, and still feel lonely.
It's a feeling. I think feelings come at us at any given time for any given reason. And, sometimes we, in a lot of ways, sometimes you don't really have much control over feelings. I feel like we can control our thoughts much better, which can be more of a help to us, which is very Virgo, right? Like have a good, strong understanding and be very to the point with what you want. But emotions are hard, and loneliness is one of those emotions that is hard. And I mean, I've had definitely moments in my life where I've felt extreme loneliness, and it's never a fun place to be, of course. You feel very isolated, very left out. It's just one of those things I think that we get to learn through, in a way. It's like, if you're feeling lonely or you are being isolated, there's definitely a bunch of different causes for the situation, maybe in your own life, maybe in whatever outside circumstances. Who knows? These things can happen in a bunch of different ways, but it's probably always the universe trying to redirect you in some route. Like I feel like it feels 12th housey to me, in a sense, where the universe is like, take a time out, right? Like, go look at this area of life, go focus on this area, and you'll probably find something that you're looking for. It's almost like at times we can look too much for connection, or too much for maybe and the boundary issues can come up like that.
I've there's been, not so much with me, but others I've been seeing, like they've been having their boundaries like infiltrated.
Yeah, big time.
Right? Because people might be feeling lonely and connect, and you must be that to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, you need to fucking chill the fuck out.
That's been a lesson for me lately.
Because that South Node in Scorpio, which I thought I would show the chart for just like this moment here in Virgo, because I feel like what you just brought up too, of this feeling of maybe it's 12th housey, or it's just things kind of going in weird directions. I mean, it's that North Node Uranus, and Uranus is stationing. It's about to go retrograde here Wednesday at like midnight. Like, so basically
that bad boy stopped.
And that bad boy is stopped. And I think that's the hard part about this moment, is this has been over a month-long theme here, that the destiny really is to take different routes, learn how to accept the feeling of where things connect, they don't connect. But it's about, I think, with that Taurus energy, like we're sorting through life, people, situations, and going, what's the highest quality, value, and that aligns also with our own souls. And also at the same time, it is that weird place, because that Scorpio energy with that South Node there, it's weird because we do put up our own illusionary walls that could block those beautiful things. So we create our own loneliness. It's not so much, I think, about whether or not you're in love or happy with yourself. I think that these are much different themes that can be hidden. If, like, the spiritual community is very good at blanketing things. Like, you're lonely, you're not happy with yourself. It's like, what if we're in a North Node Uranus, Saturn?
That's kind of the excuse for everything in the spiritual community.
Right?
You have a problem, you're not happy with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, especially when Saturn's in Aquarius, squaring Uranus again, North Node, square the nodes for, 3-4 months now?
It's been intense.
Right? And then you have so much of these elements of that South Node Scorpio where it's like the weirdness of like trying to figure out, because it's Uranus opposition to the South Node in Scorpio.
Right.
So it's almost like, it's like we want to connect, but yet we also could be obsessed with like this weird walled up thing to protect some sort of freedom, especially with all the Aquarius right? So it's a very weird dynamic. It's not so much, I think, about whether or not you want to be happy. I think a lot of it is the fear of actually, picking a seed to plant, right? And also at the same time, transformation is a huge theme of Scorpio, the biggest theme, the rising of the Phoenix. And it does come at a moment where people are afraid for that big, like you said, I think big step up, right? But it's also, I think, a leap.
Oh yeah.
Because there's that Uranian element to where it's like, there's no just calm stairway right now to like some Buddhist temple.
No, you kind of just have to do a gainer off the fucking cliff.
Yeah. And it is.
That's like kind of Uranian and Mars there too. It's like you might as well just go jump. Like,
right.
Because we don't know what's on the other side. I feel like a lot of us are at that place where it's like, well, if I do make the leap, like, will I be caught? Is there something
and
there?
when you have, Neptune in Pisces at the last decan, we made it to 25 degrees this year. And so it's so far out there. And then Saturn in Aquarius, so far out there, we are dealing with energies that are literally like none of our generations that are alive have ever felt this before.
Which makes it very special for all of us, I think. You know, is that it doesn't matter how old you are. We're all in this weird space together. Nobody really knows. Nobody's seen this before, which I think is something that does connect us on a very like powerful level. And it's almost like we all kind of have to embrace the unknown together. Which I think brings up with the sun on Regulus right now, it really comes down to courage.
It does.
Like, we just all got to be courageous and be here and present. And like, you know what? I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Do you know what's going to happen tomorrow? I have an idea of what might go down, but that doesn't mean it's going to go that way.
Especially in Uranian times, right? But I think that you're right with Regulus now in Virgo. It's courage. It's a feminine sign, but it's a feminine sign in the moment.
Right.
And about actually making the physical adjustments to your life. So if you're too afraid to make changes physically, simply, like we might be over, maybe over Scorpio, the illusion of Scorpio being, it's such an extreme change, but it's really like, no, this is going to be better. And it's like, what, you need to change this. Maybe I need to change that. You need to change this. Cause it's going to be always dealing with other people with Uranus about to retrograde over the North Node here.
Right. That's that Scorpio South Node too, right? Like we're almost looking for this like crazy, intense, just thing in our lives that's just going to transmute, our lives into something. When I liked how you mentioned like planting a seed, like where are we going to plant that seed? It's probably like something much smaller and much less traumatic, because Scorpio's got that trauma to it in a lot of ways. So like it almost doesn't need to be some traumatic explosion in our lives. That's almost like something we're almost like sadistically or in some way like hoping for, like I just need this tower to change my life, when it's like, no, you go create and change your life. And how about now's the time to put that, get to the point on that, get specific about what it is that you really want and kind of make the beautiful merge into it. Because I mean, that's one thing with Taurus too, is like, it's really beautiful energy when you think about it. And that's where you can really manifest the reality that you want. And
that's
Virgo is
true.
like putting that, fifth house quality on Taurus.
It is.
So it's like, let's go really put our creative, energies into the things that we want to mold. It's like molding a pot in pottery.
Yeah.
Like life's ready for us to just put that nice shape on this life that we want. And maybe it's not about just taking that pot and throwing it against the wall for some like dramatic response. Like maybe
well,
it's
I think
just
it's,
like
it's
shift things a little bit.
What it would be is it's planting the seed, and it might look like, instead of putting that extreme edge first, that's what comes after, right? Because there's the loop of the node. So it's like by planting the seed, there's the oh shit moment.
Right, but it's probably not going to be as
But
bad.
it's a transformational extreme that you get. So it's like people are looking for, I need to see the extreme first.
Right.
Without realizing that by the subtle beauty of just doing it, the extreme will come on that unknown backside.
But because you put your seed into the valuable spot of life and that quality that you want to shift and mold into your life, sure, it might be a little whoa on the transformation, but at least you put the effort into where it's beautiful. So it's not going to be as, I don't know if it has to be like just the full on tower moment. I feel like it's setting yourself up for the star card, almost like before going through like a crazy tower moment, because you put your energy into that like really valuable place. And then the other parts that aren't valuable are tearing down and diminishing.
And then I feel like, and then the death card comes after, which is the transformation. And then there's like a third card that would be like the chariot of where's this going? And you followed the universe, you followed the guidance, you followed the Uranian element. You're out of the city behind the energetic vibration of what you've already figured out.
Yeah.
Because that's why I love that card so much, because it is the card of moving, and it is Virgo now. It is this Mercury that's in Virgo, trine Pluto, that's going to be multiple times, and opposing Neptune. So the idea is actually very understood on a deep level, but it's when we get lost in the over trying to maybe emphasize, like at some point you just have to like trust the signs and implement it, opposed to continually trying to, well, did I see, people are so obsessed with numbers, right? So it's like, I only saw, 111 twice, not 50. It's like, I got 8 tarot readings from 8 different readers, and 5 of them said, this, and 3 of them said that, but I need 6, not 5. It's like, wait, what? Like, come on. Like, at some point, you've got to be able to just be like, this is the big, I think, test.
You almost have to trust the first one and stop looking for confirmation on the same thing over and over again, right? Like when it hits, you just have to trust it.
Yeah, I mean, as astrologers, especially like all the big predictions I've made, I didn't go over it a lot and a lot and a lot.
No.
It was so simple to just be like, boom, that's happening. And then just go, boom, bang. So it wasn't like I sat and...
No, you get the sign,
Yeah.
and then you look for a little confirmation. You find it, and then boom.
And then boom.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of loneliness, which I think is an important topic, especially for now, and especially like, I don't think guys talk about it as much. I think we know, at least men, I think we know. Women express it a lot better. But it reminds me of back when the last time the nodes were here, and this is when like metalcore, screamo, emo music came out with South Node Scorpio, North Node Taurus. That 2002 to 2003, 2004 was like all of that music popped.
I was all into it then, and now I'm just as back into all that music.
You're welcome.
It's so funny too, and it aligns with the nodes perfectly. But yeah,
Right.
definitely.
And I think it's interesting because as guys, right, like the masculine, like we let our loneliness out. Like if you, like women let it out too in song, but that metal core shit, it's felt through men. There's the fucking, it hits.
There's a lot of emotion in that.
There's men have a lot of emotion that we put in a way that is extremely seen, but yet maybe just people are like, well, I guess, I don't know. There's ladies out there, if they hear that shit, they're like, are you listening to the devil? I'm like, no, I'm listening to a guy like upset about his loneliness or thinking about the past of what didn't work out in that relationship or why these new relationships don't work or da 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 da. Like if you really listen to so much of that music, it gives you that, I don't know, for me, it fills me up to let myself release feelings and loneliness. But at the same time, that's not enough. Like I've sat in this cycle like every weekend when I finally have some time off and not done anything. Just laid in my bed, watch movies, and just get lost in just thinking about life or just watching movies. And it's kind of just like, like, or just like cleaning some cars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, there hasn't been a lot of energy to feel like just like go do this or go do that or go do this or I don't know. It's just like, it depends on, I guess, each individual man or woman, but I think men deal with it in like, I don't know, like we play video games and shoot people on fucking Call of Duty.
Yeah, that's been my loneliness escape lately, you know? Like the video games, like I don't have much going on in terms of like you're my like only friend here.
I know, we were saying that like our circles, everybody had high vibe, and that's
yeah, so it's like, you know, just ways to enjoy yourself when you're lonely, and there's connection out there. I mean, I definitely am one that prefers physical connection with people, but you know, if I can go laugh on the internet and like enjoy playing a video game, like at least I'm finding some happiness in the moment.
Hey, and I gotta just say, Brian's fucking really good at Call of Duty. Like, you know, I've played a long time because I'm 38. I played that shit when it first came out. I was playing Counter-Strike back in the day, you know, in 2002, ironically enough, in 2001. And Brian's fucking like always at the top. And people always like, he's been banned because somebody thought he was cheating.
Yeah, that was lame. They took me off for a whole week. That was the loneliest week of my life. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Hey, I've been playing video games. I'm like a, you know, millennial generation. Like I feel like most of the people my age, like we grew up, like we were 4 years old when Nintendo 64 like came out, you know. Well, maybe not 64, but like Super Nintendo. Like
Hey, I was on Nintendo.
They've just been around since I could hold a remote. Like
my dad would leave, my mom and dad would leave the fucking Nintendo on for days with a pause. It was the only way to beat Mario or beat Ninja Gaiden. It was the only way. And I remember like coming home, my dad was like, put up like a piece of paper with like a Sharpie, like, do not turn off, you know? And it was like, okay, or don't touch it, you know?
So funny.
Even on like old computer games, but I feel like, you know, there's a lot of judgment around video games too. Like,
yeah, the spiritual community is not a big fan.
Or even women today with dating.
Oh yeah. Yeah, women, I mean, it's a pretty big turnoff, and I get it, because I've witnessed friends that got so sucked into video games that they wouldn't give their significant other the time of day. So that's not cool, you know.
I don't think that. Yeah,
that's not good. Like, you don't want to like be so immersed in that world that you're not giving any effort to reality or, you know, what you need to be doing or the people you love in life. So there's boundaries. There's, you know, with everything. Got to be able to.
But I feel
live
like
in multiple worlds
this is
at
the
once.
time where the boundaries need to be about some pretty serious shit, right? Like people really
Right.
encroaching in a negative space, people trying to emotionally manipulate you, people that are not really wanting to build or grow or create, right? But I think that with the South Node being in Scorpio, there's so many boundaries people need to tear down in order to get and receive the creation and the physical stuff. And I think that that's kind of where the weirdness of the boundaries lie, is like, you know, right? Like Game of Thrones just did their new prequel show
Oh, really?
this weekend. So I didn't watch it, but a lot of people are talking about it. And I'm like, I really don't want to watch that because I really was unhappy with Game of Thrones.
I loved it until the end.
At the end,
just
was
like
hor-
everybody
the end
else.
was
you
just
know?
such a bad show. Like
It just
I was
pissed me off because Jon Snow should have been king, okay? And you know what? Bran's cool and all, but Jon Snow deserved it. And I'll never forgive that show for what they did by putting him back at the wall.
Hey, and it wasn't the guy in that show that fucking destroyed
Daenerys.
King's Landing.
God
you know what I
damn.
mean? Whoa, is that what the future's gonna be? Is
Yeah. No.
we're all gonna be? Hold on, it's now flipping to the men being burned at the stake. You know, I don't know,
Interesting.
but that's more of a joke. But
Yeah.
it's kind of an interesting thing of like I think the feminine does a lot better at knowing how to get together with their friends in this day and age, especially. I feel like for guys, it's a lot harder nowadays, and I think that's kind of a harder part for men now, is finding men you can talk about your emotions with, because a lot of men kind of it's definitely a program that's been going on for a long time. Like you just, hey, like just toughen it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, you know,
Worry about that in your own
girls
time.
go through a breakup and fuck, I don't know, they probably have 15 phone calls out, 50 text messages out, and like there's out of the 50 people, you know, there's 10 to swoop them up, you know what I mean? And let's take it out. Let's go look at his Instagram and fucking talk
To the
shit,
bottom of this.
blah, blah. Like, and I have zero negative energy towards that. I think, hey, fuck it. Like, women have a better way of coming together to do yoga, have a better way of coming together to watch a show, they do their best friends, their showers there's a shower for everything now.
Straight up.
Right? Whereas like guys, we don't do any of that shit. Like we just get the bachelor party, which already has a negative element to it. So it's like, we're really not, we could probably learn from the feminine of how to maybe get together better, because as men, we really don't have that. And men are much more, you know, singular energy, especially if you're single, or even if you're in a relationship but it feels like you're single because there's no connection anymore. Men tend to really get into, I'm just going to do this thing on my own, you know. And I think it's harder to, you know, kind of come together and do things unless there's like usually a hobby. Like my buddy Tom and I can work on our Can-Ams.
Right.
Or if I know any
I think
jet
that's
ski
where
racers,
it happens with dudes. It's in the hobby that you do. Because I remember even like, you know, my snowboard crew back in the day, like we'd go kick it at the mountain, shred all day, chairlifts up. We're talking about our lives. We're, you know, having a good time, expressing the this and that's of life. So or even football. When I used to play football, like the locker room, you know, we'd actually talk about shit,
Right.
you know, and get in and.
Hey, locker room talk? That doesn't exist.
It'll get you in trouble if you're in politics, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's not always like that either.
I
Jesus
know.
Christ.
I know.
Yeah, I know. It gets so blown up. I mean, sure, I think we all like to have a little bit of, you know, sexy time conversation at time. But point being, like, there are times where I think when you get people, especially men too, when they're close and they are doing something they enjoy, that we do get to kind of open up and express ourselves and kind of be vulnerable about what's getting us down or how we're feeling. But like, if you don't have sort of that something, it's not like dudes are just getting together like, hey dude, can I come over and like, can we talk about things? Like that's kind of rare sometimes, but like,
yeah, I mean, when major events happen, I think that'll happen. Like, oh shit, like when my dad died, I only had a couple of my, it really shows you who's who.
Right.
But it's like my race got canceled this weekend, and that's why I race for the bonding more than I race for the race.
Right. The dudes are so cool out there.
Right. And there's just like, there's hundreds of them, and being friends with hundreds of them, it's a fucking great place. So to have that be that thing that every year it's like, okay, I've got all these races, and it's really weird from June to August, there's no race in between because it's too hot. So it's like they take July off. So I'm like, okay, finally we're at August, and then 2 days before the race, it was canceled. So this weekend for me was so weird, being like, fuck, I could be on my jet ski right now, and the lake is full of an algae bloom. It was bad though. You saw the pics.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want to swim in that shit. So
no, me neither.
It's like, okay, so I kind of I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it felt that way. It was like we both were like,
yeah, because
go and race. Yeah, because I go with you. It's like we're both going. Here we go. Yeah. Like it's been a while, and then boom. So that was kind of weird because we both were like, well, now what?
Well, yeah, because we get to take, as guys, like we like going out, taking the RV, setting it up, fucking fun. Getting in the trucks, towing shit. Like, that's the shit we love. That shit fucking makes me feel alive. I feel alive. Getting a tool and fixing it. Even though I might be upset if something breaks, the whole getting a tool, fucking getting under there, figuring it out,
fixing it, and having like, I did it.
I know.
Yeah, all that.
And so not having that this weekend was really rough. And I was like, fuck. And so I didn't do shit. Like, and then I looked at my cats and I was like, you guys are happy that I'm here, but they could tell like I was like wanting to be somewhere else. And I could tell though that they're going through shit because I'm sure they're feeling the energy. Like I feel like the animals right now are feeling this energy that's crazy too, because I can feel it in them. And I'm like, well, at least I'm there for them. And then that made me feel sad. Like, wow, I'm at a place in my life where all I do is work, and then my moment off is to just be like, I'm here for my cats.
I was shocked to see you Saturday. Like I was in here on my computer, and when you came in, because Saturday is like the one day I pretty much won't. If I come into the studio to go in my office or be on my computer, I don't expect to see David on a Saturday. When I saw you Saturday, I was like,
at 1 a.m.
What are you doing here? I know you run the place, but
and it was weird because I didn't do anything. Like you were at least playing games and having a good time. I literally just went into like financial stuff, looking at planning business things,
just work,
and got lost in some research. And then I literally, like right before the sun was coming up, I was just like, I just spent the last 5 hours just wasting my energy on things that I didn't even need to research for anything relevant in my life for. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to clean up my Shelby and I'm going to take that out. And so I drove the Shelby, and then it was it's summer in Southern California. And because all those monsoons, it's been cloudy in the mornings.
It's been cooler.
Sprinkling.
Yeah.
So I'd spent all that time cleaning it. It looked fucking tits. Just for me to get around the corner and it fucking start rain. I was like, it felt like, Charlie Brown syndrome, right? Like the fucking storm clouds over my head. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me right now. I literally said, I'm like, you have to be fucking kidding me. That car has never had the windshield wipers used. That car has 3,000 miles on it. It's 2 years old. You don't drive a Shelby GT500 daily, weekly.
Or in bad weather.
So I was just literally like, fuck me. Really? And so I feel like, I don't know. You have to learn to not give up. And I think that you have to learn as a guy, like you have to be okay with going through those moments though too, instead of like, I don't know, right? Like you can't get mad or you can't get frustrated. You have to have good outlets. Mm-hmm. And so that outlet was for me to come in here and just tool around and clean the Shelby was already a cover on it. Didn't need much cleaning, but it just like, I just spent a little extra time on it. I don't know, it's just kind of like, and I think you get to a place as a guy where you're just like, okay. And I could see why there's a difference with men, where men who want to be successful to create a career in their life and have the ability to create what they want, take a sacrifice usually on the family level, especially me. Like, I don't have a kid. So, and I'm 38 now. So I'm like, fuck. That's what comes up a lot for me. It's not so much loneliness, but it's like, was the spiritual work and mission fully worth it? Like, that's just being like really real. Like, has it been fully worth it enough for me to have avoided in the past, where I just was like, yeah, no, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, fuck. Like, you sit and you realize, I don't know. I mean, you have a son, so.
But it's weird, right? It's just kind of flipped in some ways. It's like, I guess I've had like moments of loneliness where I'm like, gosh, I wish I would have gotten into this work and committed to this mission, or even knew that it was in my cards, 10, 15 years ago, and maybe be in the same sort of scenario. But I don't know, everything happens for a reason. I think for you, like, you're still a young man, in my opinion, of time. Like, 38 ain't old, like, for a dude. Like, I know women's biological clock starts ticking around that age for, like, to have children and stuff. But for men, it's not really the same thing. So, I mean,
I just don't know. I don't want to be Santa Claus going to the varsity fucking, game.
But still at this point, you'd be what, 58 when your kid graduates? Like, if you, like, around 60, that's not that bad. Like,
well,
I think that's even a thing.
That's a program thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Who knows where things are even going at that, gosh, predicting a week ahead of time is hard enough at these, at this point in life. Like, predicting 18 years in the future, like, okay, good luck. But I don't know. It's just different. I mean, I feel like we all have to go through these moments in our lives where whether we either doubt maybe how far we've come or where we're at currently, or whether we're feeling lonely, like maybe did we make the right choice? Did we go the right route? And it's like, gosh, that's Virgo season in a nutshell, making you kind of go back over all these little things in your life and decisions you made and choices, and did you kind of get that reality in order the way you wanted it? Is there ever a perfect way? I mean, I think we kind of... Are you looking for your glasses? Okay. Do we... I kind of lost my train of thought there. What did I say last?
Well, I think that you're on the fact that it's like you can are you losing your way in the world, basically, or your life?
Yeah, we got to kind of just keep going. And I think, like, go through the moments. Like, things are going to feel heavy at times. Things are going to feel maybe sad or lonely. And I think it's just like accepting that moment for what it is, maybe accepting the reasons why, feeling into it. But it's not always going to be that way. And that's one thing too, is like, anytime I've ever been lonely or sad, it's not too long after that something happens in life, whether it's God showing up with a phone call from someone I wanted to hear, or a text message that brightened my day, or somebody showing up. Like, there's always something that shows up to get us out of that situation. So, sometimes we just have to deal with those moments. I feel like that's just a part of existence here, is like going through those times and not letting them take you, right? Because they can take you into really, really dark, sad, unhappy places. And I think sometimes it does become a choice to stay there, when I think we can also make the choice to get out of there, by accepting the little signs.
I just think it's funny because I was diagnosed with hyperthymic temperament, which my depression is normal.
Right.
And it was making me realize, like, like, just normal life, and just having a weekend off and just cleaning the car and stuff is very, that's my depression.
Yeah.
And I don't go to a dark place.
That's good.
Like I've never in my life, that's how I was diagnosed with it, you know, after 5 weeks of group therapy and 12 psychiatrists or psychologists and 6 psychiatrists. They're like, no, you definitely don't have bipolar. You definitely don't, you have hyperthymic temperament. It was like, what? I didn't even know what that shit was. And so it's really weird for me, like, because like my darkest day would be somebody's like normal, like, oh, I'm just so happy to have a normal life. To me, that is like my dark day, which is really weird.
It is. It's very flipped.
And it's very flipped because my normal mood is what somebody would feel like on their wedding day. That they, like they don't.
A lot of moving parts, get stressed out.
Yeah, like that's what's really weird about hyperthymic temperament is like going to like a World Series baseball game and your team winning is like a normal mood for me every day. Like that's where normal is for me, and like to get to where it's extreme because it's not manic, it's not hypomanic, right? It's hyperthymic. So it's below that. So it's like yellow line of the RPM gauge, like I don't hit red, but I get right there. So it's like reality show, those next notches.
Mm-hmm.
Build a business with stress. I like the stress, the pressure. It allows me to feel like I'm alive, which causes anxiety and stuff, but not depression. Because it takes a lot of extroverted and positive mood to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a hard thing in my life of dealing with is, like 90-something% of people are normal mood, like normal life. So it's a very weird space for me where I like, you could see it on my face. If I'm walking in on a Saturday, it's like, what's going on? Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, nothing, man. Just, normal life.
I know.
I don't know how to deal with normal life.
I was like, play with us.
I know you even said that, and I just was like, no. It's not enough.
I know. I felt it.
And it's been happening for a month. This whole Leo season, even the worst part of it was the end of the Cancer season, the opposition of Pluto.
Right.
That I feel like, and then knowing like and telling people all these planets are retrograde and then that you're not going to feel like we actually had a lot of opportunities. Yeah. And I think now I'm going to preach what I preach and own what I do is like, fuck, like there were so many windows. Did I leap and take them? I don't know. I don't know which ones would have been right or wrong, but there's not a lot of options now, which I warned everybody about. I know, but you probably did too in your astrology.
Yeah. I think we're at that point now where kind of just got to take the harvest the crop that we harvested.
Whatever's shown up is what you're dealing with.
And make it,
Stop looking outside.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing, like stop looking out the window and thinking a new thing, or it'd be like people watching. Stop people watching and thinking you're going to find some new thing in the crowd. Mm-hmm. There's no astrology giving us anything about some brand new, out of nowhere thing anymore. Like all that's shown up, especially since the Jupiter retrograde. Like it's like after Jupiter retrograde, it's like the universe is like done expanding. You know what I mean? And then that's the weird.
Uranus on
the north node is kind of this tease. Rahu is, in Vedic, very negative.
Mm-hmm.
We put so much of the positive shade of it in Western astrology, but in Vedic astrology, it's
dragon's
negative.
Head has teeth.
Yeah, well, and it takes you away. It's actually the real representation of the definition of true ego, like an ego that's away from spirit, right? Or materialistic, too. That's the other part of Rahu is materialistic. So it can be very like, I gotta have it. And if I don't have it, and it just, and a dragon it's like, it reminds me of a dragon just breathing through its nose and just seeing all the fucking smoke coming out.
Right.
And with Uranus there, it's like, something's got to change it, and something unpredictable, and something different, and something different, and something different. And it reminds me of the Wheel of Fortune just spinning and spinning. And eventually, as Taurus goes, just pick a fucking, just let the wheel stop on something, even if it's bankruptcy. You know what I mean? Like, fucking just let it fucking, you know? And that's, I think, where everybody's at is like, you have to have, Virgo is going to go crazy too, energetically for all of us if we don't just go, okay, that's it.
Yeah. Yep. Just got to we got to consolidate a little bit, you know? And I feel like that's where it's weird, because I think we can all feel like we've already consolidated a lot. And now it's like, no, really, did you consolidate things to whatever that quality of life is that you want, and stop trying to keep spinning for the next thing and the next thing because you think you can do better than what you have right now. We have what we have. The cards have been dealt. We got to play the cards right now. And it's just like making smart choices with what you were dealt that are going to get us through the rest of this year so that we can figure it out when Mars comes direct. And like,
I know.
It's just a lot.
Especially, that's the other weird part too, is Mars is squaring the sun now. Yeah. So there is pressure to do something.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
It's very masculine energy hitting us.
It is. And it's, Mars is going to be in a masculine sign here for 7+ months here. And it's going to retrograde. And it's slowing down already. It's almost a shadow. And it kind of reminds me too of like, we're in the water tiger year. And so it kind of feels like a tiger with all this energy that's like in the water waiting.
Yeah. Cat in the water.
Right. And it's not a very aligned energy. Now the intuitive of a feline, especially of a tiger, is
top tier,
and that's why it's waiting in the water, waiting for its prey, and its instinct, and it knows. But oh gosh,
these waters are deep.
They are deep.
It's not just a little getting into like some little stream here about to get an antelope. I feel like the waters are deep, and it's hard to navigate them. And Jupiter's coming back into Pisces, so like we're gonna see just how deep the waters are. It's like kind of Mariana Trench territory for the collective, if you will. But I still think like we're at a potent time because our awareness and our connection's so much higher than it's been in the past, I feel like, at least in our lives or recent past, is that intuitively, and we can just kind of feel like there's a way through it. It's just like that intuition and knowing what actions are going to show up in reality in the best form for ourselves, and like executing those. And I think Virgo is going to be a potent time for us to execute these things and execute really, because it is Virgo season where we're going to see Venus square the nodes and square Uranus, and it's going to be in Leo, and that Venus is potent as the dispositor of the North Node. So
especially with the new moon too in Virgo with square Mars.
The new moon's a day after that
you know what's crazy is my progress chart is Virgo Sun, Mars, Sag in square right now.
Oh wow.
And it's weird because we're about to have that, and I just had my progressed new moon in 2019, so, and it was square Mars. So like I kind of know the vibe of this, and like it does kind of feel like God. But it's opposite with Mars and Sag. This is Mars and Gemini. It's definitely all this mercurial, and thinking that Mercury's in shadow. It's got trines to Pluto, but it's got oppositions to Neptune. It's going to go into Libra.
Come back.
And with Virgo. Uranus retrograde on the North Node and Venus square the nodes, and Venus getting ready to come into Virgo after that. I mean, this is getting to the most very minute specifics of like values, relationships. Like it's, that's what I'm saying. Like, stop trying to look so far and big, or look for a treasure out of without a treasure map right now, or, like
spiritually and physically, everything is like within arm's reach.
Yeah.
The far and wide.
It's in the peripheral. Yeah.
It's like everything's around you right now that you need. So you have to kind of take advantage and know that, and, act accordingly. I feel like we all want the quest right now, and it's just like, sorry.
I mean, that's why I've made that prediction for a long time that 2020, when it came to relationships, like that they had either had to have seen you or no, one party had already have to have had you in their consciousness since 2020. But anybody who hasn't since would never turn into a romantic relationship. And I know that is a fucking bold ass prediction.
That was bold. It's been true for me so far.
But it's been true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Or the relationship is missing something, you know? And that's a hard one. That's what this Mars in Gemini is bringing up, is maybe the deeper level of
actually that might
the
be
loneliness.
That might be the golden ticket of this Mars Gemini, is actually seeing that part of life clearly, like getting a defining presence and identification on what's up with these past Venus retrogrades. You know, Mercury retrograded last year, or that was this year. That was this last year and this year, right? In Gemini, the eclipses that happened in Gemini recently, the Venus, of course, eclipse in 2012, like so much.
And 2004.
And 2004. So much has happened in Gemini that Mars is really about to show us, which is cool. It's going to activate like the truth of that. So I think there's a silver lining to it, is that we actually get a defining identification with Mars there of like, this is why, here's your sense. You wanted the sense. You wanted the truth, the fact. Here it is. But sometimes, you know, getting that information is not always easy either. But at least we're going to get it in our own personal lives. So I think that's something, you know, that I think I'm looking forward to, whatever it may be, because I'd rather get the truth and know than, you know, be left just completely in wonder of like why certain things went down the way they did. So
right. I think I want to get your opinion on something that I was going to do on Deep Astrology this week, but I feel like this is going to help so many people that I have to show it. But this here Tuesday, that's tomorrow. So Mercury is going to come here to 28. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it's going to oppose the exact position where Jupiter is going to station at 28. Why is it doing it? Here we go. At 28. Oh man, this thing's crap. Here we go. 28 Pisces. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming into where the two opposing forces, Mercury, Jupiter, right, are going to be in shadow. Right? Because this is all the way, I think it's 8 degrees. Mercury's retrograding in Libra. And right now we're at Jupiter retrograde, right? Which is down here at 7. Aries going to come back to 28. So there is this weird kind of like shadowy premonition moment here of our lives, being that, especially Jupiter at the last degrees of Pisces is already very difficult, feeling like, I think if you're trying to find some escape that isn't in your actual reality, it's not going to get you anywhere, right? And I feel like this is where things are going to start to really get karmically crazy, because at this exact moment is when Venus starts squaring the nodes, right?
Yeah.
And then Mars is starting to square that sun, and there's a balsamic moon building up. As this whole like shadowy oppositional place, and Mercury, for the fact during this retrograde, September 9th, right? And then it comes back to the end of 21 days, about October 2nd, I think. And it goes direct at 24, and that's going to oppose where Neptune is and be in opposition to Neptune again multiple times. And the fact that we're in such a Mars Gemini energy for 7 months and going to have a retrograde, it really is like, stop looking beyond for what to create. You've already been shown it. And Jupiter in Aries already saw it too.
Right. It's seen the new beginnings.
It's seen it, and you have to go deep inside with retrogrades and listen inside instead of looking outside. And I think too many people are looking outside for especially the North Node Uranus energy of, I need something different, instead of realizing there is different, but it's maybe the different, Uranus's approach. It's a different approach, right? Maybe the approach that you don't want to take either, right? Because you're so used, it's like a stubborn approach.
It's the alien, different, weird, like, and stubborn. Well, I think too, it's I think our imaginations are kind of running wild in some ways right now. And I think that, you know, there's beauty in that, of course, too. We can all kind of fantasize and dream into existence a lot of things in life, but we got to kind of keep it real right now and not get too lost in fantasy or these ideals or kind of the way we want to see things come into whatever it's going to be. It's like, just be here and see how things are manifesting for you. It's probably not going to show up in any fantasized version of anything that we're looking for. So I think that's one thing with the astrology too, and especially with those points that you brought up is, and especially with Mercury shadow in Libra with Venus square the nodes, like
I think you're
like, especially relationship stuff. That's going to be the big sort of hit with like people over fantasizing about a relationship that is probably just a mirage. It probably was never.
Especially if you're not really, it's not possible for it to happen. You're not talking to them, or you could be talking to them and they've already made clear that no, that's not going to happen. Yeah. And you already know it's not going to happen, but then you want to believe. Like, it's like the only things that are going to work right now are things at work.
Yep.
This is not definitely a time to go fantasize about, you know, some celebrity or some, right, like situation that's like so far removed, right? Yeah. But that's what's so weird with Uranus too. It could be like Michael Luton says, this is the time where it's really relationships. It's like the ones you never thought would leave, and the long shots do come together. The Hail Marys I like better, but it's kind of like what? Like, never thought that would actually happen, but it did. So that's where it's kind of weird with the fantasy. Yeah, that there is the understanding again. I think of boundaries, Scorpio.
If you thought about it or dreamed about it, that's probably not what's coming. So it's kind of that Hail Mary you never saw coming with Uranus too.
Or that you gave up on, like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Or yeah. It's like the more kind of attached and connected you are to any of the fantasies and how they're going to play out perfectly, I feel like those are the last thing that's going to play out perfectly. But it's almost like the surrender of the expectation and of how things are going to look. You just might get what you wanted. But it's almost like how non-attached to outcomes can you be. You might get shocked about how you get the outcome you wanted the moment you're like, well, I'm just going to stop putting all my energy and effort and, you know, dream space into this part. It might actually show up in reality, which is a trip. It feels counterintuitive to say, but at the same time, it feels like correct in a way.
Yeah, and I feel like there's an energy where it's like it makes sense in life. So like you can have the fantasy, but it's got to make sense, right? Like you can make Disneyland because it makes sense off of what Walt Disney was trying to do to get to that place through his movies he created, through even the books and all those stories, and bring all those stories into his little magical kingdom. I mean, we're 10 miles away from Disneyland, right. So you know what I mean? Like that's my whole life I've been next to Disneyland, right? My whole life at 9:30 p.m. I hear the fireworks, you know what I mean? And so Disneyland always had an impact on me, but it was like it made sense though coming from a Southern Californian of like knowing like my aunt worked there right when they opened at the Haunted Mansion, right? Like when I was going through my dad's stuff, you used to have a ticket to get on each ride. You used to have to buy Disneyland tickets for each ride. So I have all like the ticket things. But it's like, you know, it makes sense with people right now that it's like the stories make sense. Mm-hmm. So the fantasy is like, I think when the stories don't make sense, when you're trying to, it's like oil and water. Like when you're trying to bring oil and water together, they're never going to come together. Right. And that's what's weird about Neptune or even just Pisces itself is it is the oil. Right. And that's why, of course, Jupiter and Neptune, we saw oil prices the highest of all time. Right.
It's interesting that it's oil and water. Right.
Right. It's both.
Very Pisces.
Yeah.
Chaotic. Like,
it is.
Look at these two things crazy. That don't fit together, but they're still.
And they're here. Both. Yeah. And they're both being talked about the most. Right. Commodity wise with all this Uranus North Node. But in Taurus, but I feel like that's where the issue is like, stop fantasizing about the person who just wouldn't fit in your life. Stop fantasizing of how do I make that work, when it's like, listen to that inner truth of that Mars now and all this Virgo. That's just like, yeah, we don't mix.
Mm-hmm.
We don't mix.
It's like accepting the truth for what it is.
Yeah, instead of trying to smash together like a fucking CERN particle accelerator and hope for the best. That oil and water is going to splash all over the place, or it's going to cause a lot of fights with Mars square the sun, right? And that's why I think that this is a reality check on that dreams can happen, but the stories have to implement into the kingdom and make sense. Like, it works at Disneyland because all the different characters and all the stories of the movies and stuff were integrated into the different lands, right? So it's like you go to Tomorrowland, it's like, okay, there's Star Tours there. And back then it was like, you know, how he was trying to show in different shows and stuff, like the future. Or you go to Adventureland and it's Indiana Jones, and, you know, it's all these different things that deal with things that make sense in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, you know, if you're trying to go build this magical kingdom right now in your life and you're like trying to take on a situation, a friend, a person, or even it could be family situations now. Everything's changing. Everything's turning. And that's the hard part. This is the Uranus on the North Node, to me, is the Wheel of Fortune card. I mean, it really is turning to her fate, and everything is moving to what actually will work, and you're being thrown into a whole different place, and you can't, it's like a roller coaster, like the drop moment on the roller coaster.
Well, yeah, it feels like the Wheel of Fortune, but instead of spinning it, you're literally like tied to it, like on the wheel, like,
which is crazy. And I think to kind of end that subject on loneliness, because I want to go into the Fauci thing, is I feel that I think we can, instead of looking at it as like an enemy loneliness,
mm-hmm.
it's more of a gauge of like, where am I putting my boundaries up too much? And where am I not having my boundaries up enough? Maybe on hoping for something that won't work come in. Like me, I've been procrastinating on like 3 projects I have to do. Right? So it's like leaving the boundaries open that I'm going to do that, but I'm not doing anything. And then keeping boundaries up where beautiful things could be coming in. Like, I think that's what everybody's dealing with.
Mm-hmm. So
I think that that's where we have to like kind of not look at it as an enemy, but look at ourselves and go, you know what? There's so many planets retrograde. There's so many, this Uranus retrograde. Anytime you're on a stations, it feels for a lot of people like disconnected or connected. I don't know. Where are you at? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's frustrating for people who are more like centered right now and are like, come on. And then if it's like you know, it makes frustration extreme. And then that could actually put you into the lonely place. But again, you know, I don't think it's depressing though. I think if it's depressing, you need to go like get help.
Yeah, get something done.
Because Taurus is reminding you that whatever you need is available. Mm-hmm. Whatever's supposed to happen, destiny is available. Yeah. And like you said, it's within arm's reach. And I would like to say, like, it's in your spiritual peripheral. You've already got contact, especially if you think of Mars and Gemini. Like, there's already contact. There's already been an identification made with a label, an understanding, a truth, a curiosity, a stimulation to it. If you haven't seen that, just let all those things go. I went through and I only made it through maybe like 300 followers on my Instagram. And I'm like, why am I following this person? Or why am I following this tire company? Or why am I I just started just energetically started clearing out. And then of course I got bored with that after like 10 minutes, right?
Right.
But I feel like if we can do that spiritually right now, it's so important to just let a lot of the stuff that's just not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you follow it or not. Especially with that Saturn Aquarius shit. You don't need to follow things that are a waste of your time right now. And you have to also at the same time, I think it's good to find ways to, if you don't have a hobby or you don't have some sort of creative outlet or something, especially in Virgo, even if it's, the most basic thing. Like video games, I don't think is a bad thing. If it's taken away from your life and how you deal with others, then I think it's a bad thing. Because women watch makeup tutorials, or they do their things too, or they watch fucking the Kardashians, or they're watching that new Game of Thrones, right? So it's like, what's the difference?
Sometimes we just got to kill time. We all kill time some different way. But I agree. It's a consolidating time. It's time to get things in order. It's Virgo season. And I think if we're, dealing with loneliness, it could be something, deeper. It could be having to deal with why, maybe holding on to something, or
cell phone,
maybe a cell phone, maybe whatever it is. Like why, like something maybe is in your life that needs to get purified and thrown away, because Virgo's going to clean it up. And that's probably what's going to open the door to that something that's going to light you up, whether it's a person, because loneliness usually comes with people to people interaction. So,
but I just got to say something. There is no opening up a door with Uranus.
No,
it's connected
the wheel will stop where it stops.
Yep. And it's instant connection. So it's like, I think people keep waiting for a doorway.
Yeah, bad analogy.
And that's why it was like, no. I think it's all in divine, because I think the problem is we had all the doorways, and we, as astrologers, gave all the doorways, and things have all come in already. It's just whether or not you're going to plug into it now. That's it. That's all there's left. There's nothing left. There's no more. Well, let me keep researching. Let me keep trying to understand. Mars's only understanding in Gemini is through curiosity and what's in that fucking room. I'm gonna go in there.
Yeah, it's here. It's in my peripheral. It's right here. I'm gonna check it out. And
I'll just say it. Like one of the movies I watched this weekend. Have you ever seen American Sniper? Oh, with Bradley Cooper.
A while ago. That's a good movie.
Right, and I hadn't seen it in a while, and that's a fucking intense movie. Like fuck, and it's a true story. Like the number one fucking most deadly American, SEAL sniper. He killed 163 people, I think, in the war, and protected a lot of Americans, and had PTSD and got through it. And I watched that movie, and it's so sad, that whole ending, because, he gets all the way and finally gets over his PTSD after like 9 years, and they moved to Texas, and he's got his kids, and him and his wife, they find everything together, and then he's now helping veterans, and he goes and helps a veteran. The veteran just kills him. And that's the end of the movie. And I'm like, and I was just like, oh my God, but at least it delivered. Like, where's this going next? It just was like, there it is. And that's the weird part of Uranus, is it
does deliver.
It delivers this door.
The shocking.
Here's the shock.
Boom.
There you are. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that that's your life, right? Like there's moments where it's going to be like stories, not fit like literal, but like shit, it's going to end up right there. Okay. And then it's like, okay, throw on a different movie, like Titanic. Oh wait, no, that's the same kind of story. Don't want to go there. But like, but I feel like Titanic though energy has been kind of the fear, right? Of like the idea, like there's a lot of swapping with people that happens, and people changing people. Cause that movie's all about, she goes to another deck. She goes to the third level. He goes to the first level. They both experience totally different worlds. And then he doesn't really have anybody to leave because he's free. He's the very Iranian character. And she's very, the Saturn in Aquarius character, right? Like I'm following what my mom wants me to marry this guy to keep us alive. Cause remember, I don't know if you remember that movie, but she comes in as like, you will never see that boy again. This is for us. God damn it. And she's all pissed. Like, and that's when she decides to leave after that. Right. And then that whole like amazing, beautiful moment between them. And then it's like, then the ship gets hit. Right as things get literally hot and heavy.
That's how life feels.
And I think people are afraid of the iceberg hitting when the Iranian element isn't not going to be the iceberg hit after. The Iranian element's going to be prior. Like, and then take you in the wheel to what won't be the iceberg. So I think that people have to inverse the Titanic story. because it's like, that's the South Node Scorpio. It's going to end. It's going to go bad. And these are very deep, deep, deep karmic past life issues within ourselves, that the only way to heal it is not so much of the work you're doing. That's the idea of, I got to be by myself and do the work. It's the opposite. It's by inverting, with Uranus opposing Scorpio, South Node, by actually integrating and connecting into a story that doesn't do those trauma stories. So the idea of I need to work on my trauma is, well, take on a non-traumatic story.
Right.
You change the script, you change the movie. You don't sit and watch a blank screen and keep remembering the bad movie. You get out of a horror movie by watching a comedy or a love movie that ends good. And that's how you get out of, and especially if you've never seen a romantic movie. If you were like, let's say we brought some human, they lived in the fucking forest up in the mountains and they'd never seen movies before. And the first movie we showed them was like fucking Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, shit.
Right?
I thought you said a romantic movie.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Something. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of a horror movie gone bad with a relationship. Yeah. That's kind of a weird one. But, you know, something that really just ends bad. Well, I guess like Titanic.
Yeah.
Right? And then they were like upset. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to show you the Notebook now.
Yeah.
Right?
Then they cried.
That's how you get them to go, oh, shit, that's possible. And I know that both are possible, but at least I know that exists. And if that shows up, I'm willing to take the chance for that, because Uranus is the chance card in Monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's like, you've got to pick the chance card. You just can't, if you roll and you land on chance, you take the chance. You don't, yeah, sure, it could be that you have to pay a tax bill or whatever, the chance card. It could be anything.
Might go to jail.
It might go to jail, but you can get out. Like, I feel like it's like one of those things where you can't right now just avoid the unpredictable, you know, what feels like fear, and putting the walls up, and then using, you know, everybody's using trauma bonds or trauma stories.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God I don't play in that world. But fucking that shit is crazy how people hold their trauma. And it's always like, the way that I've dealt with any traumas, I guess, and I've been in therapy for 7 years, and it's, even my therapist is like, man, like, thank God you don't deal with most trauma. Even though it's, to most trauma, right? Like my dad dying, a divorce, fucking grandma died, fucking this, business stuff, whatever. People canceling me for talking the way I do or saying the things I do. But that shit doesn't affect me, because I always look at all the beautiful things and the great and the love and the happy things to grow in my life. And that always will outdo the trauma.
It's always a perspective shift, right? Like, we can put our perspective and go all the way in on all the darker shit in our lives. Every one of us we've had dark shit happen in our life. We've had hard times. Like, we can focus our intention on that area all we want, but like, at some point we just gotta shift our perspective to, like you said, the things that are beautiful, the things that are growing, the love in our life. There's always gonna be that too. It's not like there's, you know, life is 80% dark, 20% light. Like, it's 50-50, and it just depends on what part of life you want to look into.
Yeah.
So it's like, we just got to be able to shift that perspective. And, you know, we all have to deal with things. We'll be there. It's all part of life too, is getting into those moments where, wow, this is hard, this happened. But, you know, knowing that it's okay to get out of it and find happiness and to find good times and good memories and good people and laughter and fun is so important. So the more I think we like put our perspective in those aspects in life, like the more overall, like as a collective and individually, we're going to get out of so many different holes, and there won't be so much like trauma bonding. Like, hey, we're all going to bond over trauma. We've all had our share of trauma. Like, let's bond over something, you know, that we can laugh about.
I've never been into the trauma bond thing.
It's not my.
It's never been my.
It's not my
thing.
My forte.
I just got to say too, is with Chiron being now at 15 retrograde, the quincunx to the South Node is starting to finally separate. but still going to be there for a while because South Node is going the opposite direction and Uranus is, they're both kind of still kind of heading into each other. But this story is, if you're connected to your trauma as your identity with Chiron and with the South Node and Quincunx, you're fucked.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, and I know that people in here are like, well, it changes your brain. It does all these things. It's like, yeah, well then do something.
Especially when that sun comes here mid Virgo and
I was just going to say, like,
makes a yacht over to that fucking Chiron.
Being a Leo, I always look at Virgo season as, the last 30 days of summer.
Right.
And then I think of the fall. And then I think of, like, especially as a single guy, like, God, wouldn't it be nice in the fall to have a beautiful partner and take my woman out and go do all the beautiful things of fall and the holidays that come and all these beautiful things that come? Like, this is where the end of summer is. Or if you're down under, the winter is coming to its end. Like, it's time for the spring. It's time for us in Virgo, the mutable energy, to make a change now and start adjusting. And so the idea of just sitting and watching a black screen and not playing a new, better movie is insane to me. That's where I think when you talked about earlier, that people can really be creating delusion or creating fantasy. Creating dark fantasies of trauma is, I think, the worst of it right now.
It's kind of hot right now in the collective.
And I think it's a failure
to
do that.
Definitely want to go into the more, the aspects in life that are going to grow. We can get locked into the stuff that's dying, but there's definitely a lot growing too. So
that's true. Well, good news in the world, fucking, and to go into it finally, fucking, in a really good way is fucking, and I called it. Fauci is stepping down, and he just said just a month ago, I'm going to wait till the end of, Joe Biden's term.
Which is interesting because maybe that's not a lie.
Maybe it's not a lie, right? And but the crazy part to me is, and this is connected with, I think, what we've been talking about with loneliness all the way to this is like, he's a fraud when he's a Capricorn. He said how much he loves this, that he's going to ride this till the end of the whole term of the presidency ends. And a Capricorn quitting and resigning, which I predicted, by the way.
You did.
And I said that he would, even when people brought out the story, like, he said he's going to stay on for another 2 years, right? I was like, no, he won't. He'll resign by the end of the year. And he's just going to walk out because there's a bigger fucking story here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's walking out before all the shit's about to hit the fan with the shot. And the way that the CDC's been hiding the numbers of the VAERS system, the creepy shit that they have not told the American people yet, that there was no fucking testing. Right. There was no, or even looking at the test kits don't work anymore. Like the whole story's becoming like, this is his tower card. He's trying to get to the star card right now.
It's a cowardly moment for him.
It's a cowardly moment for him.
He said over and over and over again how everybody needs to get that stupid thing.
Look at, he goes, I definitely feel it was worth staying as long as I have. It is unfortunate, but it is a fact of life that we are living in a very, very divisive society now. So now he's backing out because of
part of that,
and he's blaming it on Trump.
He created.
I know. It's stuff. Yeah, he's putting it on Trump. And Fauci said he never considered resigning due to the threats against him because he had that one guy who was going to travel across America and he had a gun and they caught him. But it's like, welcome to the club, bro. Talk to Britney Spears.
Right.
Like, fucking, like, talk to even people I know that are YouTubers. Like, here, I've had the FBI here because of these threats. Right. And I ain't quitting. And I feel like that's one of the things, is not to quit. But you could, when a Capricorn quits and he's throwing it on other people instead of
taking the responsibility on himself. Yeah,
right.
Not a good look.
I don't like the idea that I have to have armed federal agents with me That's not a happy feeling. It's reality, and you've got to deal with reality.
I think it's comical that he thinks that's ever going to change. That guy's going to have armed security with him for the rest of his life. Guaranteed it. Like,
yeah, guaranteed.
It's so funny he would even say that.
Right? I think there's a lot of weird shit with this story, especially because Pluto finishing in Capricorn here. He knows it's all about to blow up. Especially it was just, I think it was about a week and a half ago, like the head of, there's one guy higher than Fauci, the director of the whole NIH, put out a letter and showed the EcoHealth and showed that the money did go through EcoHealth to the Wuhan lab. And I don't think it's a coincidence that within a week I'm done. I'm resigning.
No, and Rand Paul's
so he
been
lied
grilling
through his
him like a
teeth.
motherfucker on this whole thing.
Yeah, he fucking lied through his teeth. And I think that why we're bringing up this story is because with any, whether it's a man or a woman, but especially because he's a man and there happens to be still a lot of men kind of in these leading positions, which one should you follow in the world, especially government-wise? Because Brian said it best. They've got some big fucking shit they're going to try and do.
I wouldn't follow a single government person right now, to be completely honest with you. With Pluto finishing in Capricorn, South Node, Scorpio, I wouldn't I'll be honest with every single one of you. Anything that some government, whether, I don't care if you live in the United States or any country, we're all connected now. We're all, see how they're talking about one new world order, all that? They're all in cahoots, right? It doesn't matter. Whatever they tell you need to do the opposite. It's plain and simple, because it's just going to be the experiment gone wrong in your life, whatever it is. So whoever replaces Fauci, I wouldn't listen to him, especially if the government's still using him as the main person. Just don't. I'm sorry. Like, I know people love politics, and I know it's hot these days, and people want to follow a side, but it doesn't matter. Don't go. Like, do your life. Make your own choices, because following anything from that, because that's the AI.
Yeah.
The government is AI infiltrated, and it's trying to get everybody, it's trying to take everything we got. And it's going to take the real warriors to just do something different, whatever that is. And that's why it can be beautiful. It's like, I'm stoked for it. I'm like, good. I never wanted to listen to the government anyways. Thank God we're reaching that time.
Well, you brought up a good point where it's like, it's not even about the political stuff, but think about all the people, especially we covered the whole ISAR story, right? Like our astrology community is trying to create their own rules and go against the guidelines by creating their own guidelines, where it's different, where it's like, I am an independent, free American, and if I don't feel like following a guideline, right? Like, I can see how they are saying it, but I'm not going to go create guidelines. There's a difference where you're trying to create your own guideline. Like, I'm going to go create what you can only come in here if you do this or you do that. Because when it was the opposite, one of the restaurants here in Huntington Beach said nobody with the shot allowed to come in here. Fucking everybody went out in flames. But oh no, ISAR was trying to be like, oh no, if the CDC, we're not paying attention. We're just going to still make sure that you need to have the shot, and if you don't, you need to take a test and you need to pay for it. And like, when I went up against that shit, fucking now they've changed it all. They're all flipping. So think of all the people who love this guy, who bought his popcorn boxes in December for Christmas, with the masks, with the documentary about him and all that shit, that like look up to this guy. They're all fucking freaking out and crying, and probably going to go. And I think especially with this new shot they're coming out with, and that was weird, is Fauci resigned today, and then Pfizer releases their bid to fucking FDA to get right
strains we need to be worried about.
Exactly. Right. So it's like, he's definitely going, especially with how many people have been just dying in their sleep. How many people are just fucking not doing well from it, because it's coming up everywhere from even places I didn't think it would come up from on the internet, like people are starting to be like, fuck you. Reading the fucking comments under all the shit about the new shot. Everybody's like, not going to follow it. I already got 2. I already got 3. I already got one person's like, I got 4 and I ain't doing it. Right. So like, wow. Like, God, I didn't even think about ever getting 1, but couldn't even imagine going through that. But I'm glad process.
People are tired of being pincushions to this fucking government. Like, it's bullshit.
He knows, though, there's about to be a mass. Oh, especially if you think of the astrology and the Mars retrograde and Gemini and the war energy coming, and also at the same time, you know, looking at data from the past SARS-CoV-1 genetic, let's just say medical
testing
thing that they put. Well, they tried the same shot, just on animals.
Didn't work,
and they all died.
Didn't work for one of those.
You know,
animals.
like he knows that it's after 2 years that's when the animals die and all that, right? So,
yeah,
he's getting out before that exactly 2 year mark.
And it doesn't matter. He could have resigned.
Think about it though. It's exactly 2 year. December of 2020 is when the shot rolled out, and that nurse, first thing in America. How was that not a sign? The fucking nurse passes out on national TV.
If there was a question, if I was questioning getting it or not, and I saw that, I wouldn't have got it.
I remember being like, well, there's the sign from God. Definitely I was right. I listened to my soul, and I knew I was like never going to get that shit. And it's crazy because I think people are about to have their fucking minds. I mean, we were talking about this like kind of inside. I forgot who I was talking about it to with. Might have been Natalie. Oh, I think it was Natalie when we did Full Disclosure last week. It was like, what's going to happen when they tell people this is not a good thing and you're reproducing it? And what happens when they finally come out and find the courage and it comes out that it's a bioweapon, so that not only are you taking in the spike protein of a bioweapon that's mass produced and continually being produced in your body forever. The panic attack of every day, like if I had something, when I was going through panic attacks and anxiety attacks, one of the things you think about is like, am I okay? Like I would be like, is the aluminum in this Sprite fucking with me right now, making me have an anxiety? You go that bad down the hole. Imagine the mental health with Neptune coming into the last degrees of Pisces, the Mars square. The mental health crisis that they keep warning about is for the people who got the shot when they get the truth. It's going to and he does not want to be anywhere near and use the whole, I need protection.
Oh, he needs protection.
Right?
It's so funny that he thinks that resigning right now will save his face. Like it wasn't already smeared, you know?
Especially because I think it's more than just the shot, because the shots, the craziest part that's going to be the inversion part of the shot is literally the fact that when it comes out that it's a bioweapon from a lab that he funded in America, helped China fund, and fucking that's a bioweapon is in people. When that happens and that you can never get rid of it, and that there was no testing on different sorts of people, like everybody that got tested, you weren't allowed, they never did the testing on people in the small groups that actually did have CV or did have an autoimmune disorder or did have a heart disorder or did have lupus or did have even, you know, so many Americans today have, what do you get from ticks? Lyme disease. All those things and the interactions or what medications that you're on. You weren't allowed to be on medications. So people have no idea the implications. Thank God, you know, even though I don't agree with them all the time, but thank God Dr. Drew has just gone full assault and bringing on finally Dr. Peter McCullough and Kelly Victory and all these people, and is speaking from like the Hollywood side of things and fucking calling it for what it is. And now it's seeping through all these other areas. he's like, I'm getting out and I'm going to use that whole one guy who tried to shoot and kill me, who never did get close, by the way. Right? Like,
I mean, I feel like if he would have
like,
got
I've had
close,
them show up
we all would have.
they've showed up at my fucking door. You know what I mean? Like, this fool hasn't had shit show up at his door.
Yeah.
So, you know,
it's so silly. He's not saving face. He's firmly, implanted into our history books as someone who pretty much tried to, in some ways, make the human race go extinct.
Yeah, in many ways. Sorry, we got lost connection for me to be able to switch
no
cameras.
worries.
Just waiting for it to come back.
But I don't know. It's just all these new vaccines. It doesn't. There's going to be more. Like, there's monkeypox is going to have something come out.
Well, that's the thing. There's no monkeypox shot. We're not saying that word.
Which one?
The V.
Yeah. Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh,
that is the smallpox shot.
Right.
It's not even and that's what's weird is when you go down the rabbit hole on that, like, people who got the shot, like, they're getting, like, not necessarily smallpox, but they're getting, things that are all in the same family, right? Like, I don't know where rashes, or what's that other thing?
Herpes came up a lot with.
Herpes, and that showed in actually the data too.
The other jab, yeah.
But what do you call it? Shingles. Same shit. Same family.
I don't know. Don't get anything they tell you to get.
It's pretty
simple.
Don't even follow any
Life's
of that.
pretty simple,
I
actually.
think that you should be spending your time in it. God, this sucks. I think that people are gonna have to go seek. There's finally a lot of places that are there to help people to try and curb their genes from changing and continuing to create a bioweapon in them. So that's the main thing for me is, like, why continue to spend the energy following the people who have lied constantly? I mean, he lied and said, oh yeah, there was no money. Okay, now I can change it.
It's all lies.
It was all lies. And so why don't you go follow the people that were right? That didn't quit, that had $1 trillion of advertising against them and threatened. And we weren't allowed to go. That's why I moved out of LA. Like, wasn't allowed to go to restaurants. People would invite me to clubs last year. I'm like, can't go. And I'm not going to go make a fake card.
I never got one. I just figured if some place needed me to show that to get in, it probably wasn't where I was supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. It was purgatory that it was leading towards.
Right.
Because you're eternally, literally, with something that doesn't come out of your body. And when you think of the solar flares,
yeah, those have been insane.
And
lately.
you think of what that already does to our auric field, our soul, and then you think about how many people are dying in their beds, our age.
I know.
Right? They're just dying in their beds. How many celebrities keep dying? It's just like the amount of people that just keep dying in their beds, that they literally have a new thing where it's like unexplained death. But they know, they just don't want to,
Yeah, I mean, it used to be SIDS or, right?
Right.
Like sudden infant death syndrome. Now it's just
adult
sudden death syndrome.
Right.
You got to
That's scary.
And they're just out of and then they're claiming that it's just out of nowhere. Like, how much bullshit is that? Like, to throw that one under the people, like, here, this is happening, but don't look at the thing we just told we told all of you, but 78% of you decided to listen and go get. It's wild,
Well, and I think that for this moment, that it's victory for those that have been in the tyranny.
Yeah, I love what that Australian writer put.
Right.
That was, thank God people like that exist right now that still got it, but can look and be like, wow, thank God that those people were a control group for us.
Yeah.
To show us.
But that's what, the scary part is we're the people who don't have it. We're a very small majority, and we're the only ones kind of keeping the population alive at the moment, because the reason why the transmissibility keeps getting higher is because, like the form of whatever this fucking bioweapon is in the original strand that's in the shot. But of course, the variants on top that change so much changes, especially in this Omicron strain. So it's like, which of course is moronic and all these different weird things, right? That your body, it creates, okay, it sees that same tree trunk, so it goes and creates all these antibodies and goes crazy. So you're actually getting the disease worse. It's all in the records now. And by the way, if you got it, you're 37% more at risk of getting more fatal disease if you have the shot than not. It's so crazy that, like, the numbers just, and people just are avoiding. I don't want to hear it. But you wanted to hear it when your side had it. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what's so weird. And we're all trying to help. And I feel like what a fucking piece of shit Fauci is to bail.
He's a piece of shit before, but
I know, but I'm just saying,
now.
like, he could if he
owned it
exactly
like a good Capricorn and
right.
took responsibility and said, you know what, these tests are coming back and it didn't work and we are so sorry. And we're going to do everything we can to help. We're going to do everything we can to help.
Instead of putting fucking $750 billion into IRS and bullshit green shit that ain't going to change shit.
I know.
We should be putting that to every way to get this shit out of people and find a way to reprogram, because we already knew.
That's how you know the government doesn't give a fuck about you.
That's how you know they did. That's when I saw that bill get passed and the Democrats push it. I'm like, that is the most evil fucking clan of people we've ever literally seen in our lives.
100%. I don't think there's ever been that dark of a force on this. I don't know. It's weird because you can look back in history and say, well, like, there was some evil shit that happened in the past, but like, this is the most evil of collectively, because there was evil in like smaller sort of places, but this is like on the whole world, the evil on the whole world that was about. Like, it blows my mind. It's insanity. Yeah, it's the darkest shit ever.
It's so dark, and I feel like that's the thing. He needs to be in a responsible place to... He obviously was able to get, including Republicans, like Mitt Romney and stuff, to follow what he was saying the whole time. Whenever he did all those big hearings with the CDC director. So it's like one of those things where you see her backing away, throwing up new guidelines, and he leaves too, because he's like, uh-oh. And she's like, we're redoing the whole CDC. We're going to make it all better. We're going to make sure it's more transparent, because they've been blocking the names of the people behind the testing. They've been blocking the names of the people behind VAERS, because they just like, basically it's kind of like having this great system that they just said, okay, don't do it. And so many hundreds of thousands of fucking adverse events and deaths have been removed. So, Dr. Peter McCullough says, on the minimum, 187,000 Americans on the minimum have passed from it already. And like, it's like one of those things where like, that's the minimum, and that's not the world stuff, and that's not all that, So it's like, and that the idea of herd immunity is only going to come from a population that doesn't have it.
Right.
That it will
and they flip that on it.
That the virus, that we're at the most unstable point, that the virus has to dominate in order to win. That's what causes herd immunity. But if you got the shot, it's continuing to grow crazier and more intense, and why people who've got the shot get it way more than people who don't. If you don't have the shot, it's 97% chance that you are good for 2.5 years.
Literally the flu.
Like, yeah. But if you've got the shot, you're getting it multiple times, because it's going to keep trying to attack and find new ways. And that's why the variants in the same lineage of Omicron continue to stay there, because it found a way to keep infecting people, and it's playing around.
Mm-hmm.
And so people don't realize yet the implications right now of what's happening to them is that there's a silent fucking enemy out there that's literally like it reminds me of an alien that is literally looking at them like, all right, let's try this now until we dominate and win, until the population gets a low amount of people that can get natural T-cell immunity, right? Like you have to lower the people that have the shot, and that's where the depopulation stuff comes up and all that. Because if you really think about it, the only way to get immunity is think about all the illegal immigrants they're bringing in. They don't have the shot; they're allowed in. They're trying to, and that's the only explanation. Is like that's the secret. And I know Republicans are pissed about it, but I'm almost like, if they're trying to do this because from what's being said by the top virologists in the world, that you need people from lower income countries and things that don't have the shot to spread the mass immunity of natural immunity in order for this to even start to balance itself out. But because America has 78% one shot, it doesn't matter if you have one. You've got something in you that's continually in your cells reproducing a spike protein that is naming cells to do things when they're supposed to be unnamed and form and adapt to whatever the fucking virus of life is that we deal with. But now you're a football player, so now a bunch of football players, it's like only go after, if you're on defense, right? Only go after
only number 23.
Yeah, exactly. Just go only after that.
Don't worry about anybody else.
Yeah, and so what if fucking
they're throwing touchdowns
HIV
to
comes
81
in
over
or
and over
anything like
again.
that? Nope, just let it in. You're only supposed to look for that.
Yeah, it's not good.
And it's literally genetic, right?
It's the worst defense. It's the worst defense your body could possibly play.
Right, and it's genetic. And the worst part is it's synthetic. And the worst part on top of that is it's recoding, and they promised it wouldn't change your DNA, that it would just change your RNA, and now the data is showing that it's changing the DNA. So you're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he's leaving, and that's why the CDC is changing the guidelines, and that's why the CDC is doing it. And people are just going to be like, well, that's just because the virus is going away. It's like, no, the virus just fucking infected the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. The unvaccinated are good for another 2.5 years. And fucking the vaccinated are just going to have to go deal with these crazy fucking things till it dominates them. And their immune systems are taxed. They're taxed. And that's why so many people are dropping dead at the pool.
I know.
Or in bed. Or working out. And like whenever I see somebody I know, I don't say anything because it's not my place. But when I see them at the gym and working out hard, I am fucking terrified. Every day. I'm like, if I see a story of them at the gym, I'm like, oh man, I just don't want to fucking see that story and then see them, they were at the gym and then the next day.
Right.
Gone. You
never know. It sucks. Sucks that we're at this place, but here we are. But
you can't quit.
No, you cannot Fauci it. You can't quit right now. So no matter what, you gotta, whatever side you're on, or got it, didn't get it, like you just gotta keep going at life right now. I think it's also interesting to think that like there's probably going to be people out there that are like, oh, Fauci just resigned because he's old. He just wanted to retire. And like, we'll have his back on that side. And it's like, no. This guy was very proud of his position, of what he did and where he was at in life. Like, he's a pretty smug Capricorn. So there's definitely something bigger going on. I think it's obvious.
Well, here, for those people that are just blind, I don't know why they would be, but they are. There's a lot of them. Here was just July 18th. We're on August 22nd. So I said a month. Look at this. Fauci plans to retire by end of U.S. President Biden's term. So Routers, right? Okay. Director of the NIAID, right? Testified during the Senate. But yeah, he's like, he will retire by the end of President Joe Biden's first term, but it could come much earlier than that. So he kind of put that like little, like, the fact that he's throwing the soft shit, right? So like, all the like crazy COVID people that are obsessed with it are like, yay. But he literally put in your face like a Capricorn, like, oh yeah, I'm leaving. Just this is my good PR stunt.
I don't know.
I haven't made an announcement of my retirement, but it could be anywhere from now until then.
I don't know yet.
So it's like, why is the media putting that up a month ago? Plans. He's a Capricorn. That's my plan. But then he's really saying that's not my plan. My plan could be anywhere from now until then. But then it says, my plan is to retire by the end of the term. So does that mean...
He
No, you know what's the
wanted to ride it as long as he could, but the writing was on the wall and he jumped ship.
But think about this. What if Biden's end of the term is next month?
See, I would not be surprised.
This is a premonition story. Because
right.
going back to where it's at today...
And they put everything right in front of our faces.
Same thing, routers,
all the
right?
time.
Yeah, like Fauci, face of U.S. COVID response to step down. Okay, so within 1 month. And all the shit that's come out in the last month is insane. Because you know why? You've heard nothing. You don't see the CDC director doing her weekly shit anymore. You don't see any COVID response team. You don't see any of it. You know why? Because all the data from Qatar, all the data from Israel, all the data from every fucking country, including Spain, Italy, UK, are looking at it and going, uh-oh. And America won't do it to its own citizens. And he's like, I'm fucking out of here before shit hits the fan. And I don't think he's even going to do the whole December thing because he said till the end of Biden's term, but then obviously he's stepping down fast.
I wouldn't be surprised if Biden left office one way or another before the eclipses, by the time Pluto went direct.
Right?
It wouldn't surprise me with all the Capricorn and the Pluto finishing in Capricorn with that South Node and I don't know, in his sign, Scorpio.
I mean,
like,
it's all over the place.
Shocked.
Like the U.S., like they finally are ending the whole the Wuhan lab thing, like the money that goes there, because like I was gonna put that it was the NIH director letter. Look at how they're just. Oh, I'm going to put on the eco health. Yeah, NIH ends subarword to Wuhan lab after continued stonewalling. It's like the NIH announced it was finally cutting off a subaward to the the Wuhan Institute of Virology after it continued to refuse to hand over key information about the CV, right, conducted with U.S. tax dollars. Made the revelation in a letter Friday to the House Oversight Committee Republicans, which he said the Wuhan lab had refused to turn over lab notebooks and files. So, like, this is what's not being said on the news. But they think about Fauci leaving on Monday. This came out Friday. Does that make sense? Like, that it's all, like I said, is going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
It's all going to come out the way exactly I tell everybody. And with Saturn starting to square Uranus, the shattered reality. Last year it was the shot didn't work. This year is the shot. Kills you. Ruins your life. It was a biolab. It was a fucking bioweapon. And Fauci lied to you. And where the fuck does this go next?
You know what's interesting too is what just came out was that the DOJ seized 300 documents from Trump after the raid. So what's interesting to think about too is like, well, what kind of documents did Trump have if they seized him? Like, did he have dirt maybe? Did he have like stuff on Fauci, stuff on that kind of, like, if those just get, comes out that those got found, and then I think it was the same day, or it was 15 hours ago. Yeah, it was probably the same day, like Fauci resigns. Like, is there a correlation to that too? Like, I don't know. Something else that makes me wonder. There's about to be so much information.
Like, it's crazy because Fauci said, and all these liberals believed it, that there was no money going to EcoHealth, and then now it's unacceptable that the NIH continues to allow EcoHealth Alliance to receive taxpayer dollars, even though it is confirmed EcoHealth violated the terms of its grant contract. EcoHealth conducted gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses in Wuhan about the Chinese Communist Party's cover-up. Right? EcoHealth's dangerous. NIS confirms EcoHealth. This is literally the letter. So I know all the liberals that always like to attack me. This is your boy. This is the department he's second in command, and his boss had to go because the FBI has been investigating this. And of course, MSNBC, CNN won't talk about it. And here it is. Thank you for your interest in our work. I write to you today in a continuing effort to a response to your inquiries about our oversight of awards to EcoHealth, right? And it goes in and shows the performance periods and how he had done a renewal date, June 1st of 2019, that would go all the way to May 31st of 2024. And now they're ending that. And then now Fauci stepping down. And look at understanding the risk of zoonotic viruses, right? It's all there. It's all there. And so he completely lied.
Over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. He completely lied.
He lied under oath.
He lied under oath millions of times. So that's why he's running away like a scared little bitch, because deputy director fucking of the NIH, which is above the, it's so weird. Fauci works for the allergic to shit. Like, and then he's giving shit that people are having allergies that are killing them.
The worst allergic reaction you could possibly have. I know.
So that's where this is the most look at, and this was 8/19, and here it is 8/22. 3 days later, Fauci chooses to resign and step down as a Capricorn. Capricorn resigning means you've lost control.
I'm glad that Capricorn lost control. It's about time.
But I think the implications that are happening with Mars now in Gemini and the retrograde coming is the war shit and all this shit popping out, that it was an attack on Americans, that was funded by our own country, that is in a shot, that is created by these huge corporations that made literally close to $100 billion. And was pushed, coerced, forced, had the public look at you as you're a bad person if you didn't take a fucking bioweapon.
Yeah, we became lepers.
So not only people who got it are dealing with the implications physically, but also the implications spiritually on if they ever at one time were like, God, I can't believe that person doesn't have it. That is a fucking karmic debt that will last lifetimes to get over. You know? When you really think of the small percentage of us that didn't get it. And I'm not afraid to say truth. Mars is in Gemini. And even for me, it doesn't matter where Mars is, I'm always speaking the truth. But it's like people are in denial of that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even believe my celebrity clients, and they called myself friends, unfollowed me a year ago because of me saying it's not going to work, and they are so liberal. And I'm still nice and still follow them and still say happy birthday, and they won't follow me back. But it's like, I'm like, wow, like, I can't believe you like treated me like that. It's crazy how many people.
I mean, I think that was one of the big lessons for people in the grand scheme of things, whether you got it or not. Did you still treat people with respect as a human?
Yeah, exactly.
Whether you were against it or for it, how'd you treat the opposite side when it came down to it? I mean, I think we set boundaries in different ways, both sides, and I think that was okay. But like treating someone as less than a human for either way, that was a big karmic test, I think, in many ways for the collective as well.
That they kept giving money even when the oversight EcoHealth Alliance was not providing the records or what was going on at the Wuhan lab. So, it's crazy because American taxpayers paid for a bioweapon
against themselves
from China.
So fucked up.
It's pretty fucked up, right? So that's Pluto. This is the Pluto return of America.
100%.
And Fauci's a Capricorn. And boom, he's going to be right there. And when you look at all the astrology, really, and then you think Trump, he's a Gemini, Pence, he's a Gemini, and then you look at Biden, he's a fucking Scorpio. And it's so funny that Kamala Harris is a Libra who's connected because she's the vice president to Biden, but they're all implemented on this. The fact that Trump can't come out and own up and say it was bad and it doesn't work, so he doesn't refer to it anymore, and he just won't be real about it. I mean, maybe because he did put Pence in charge, right? Like, that's the whole weird thing when you look in the history of the whole like stuff that's gone on. It's like if you remember,
I still like, that was one thing, like when he was all about Project Warp Speed, I was just like, man, there is no winning out there in the political realms.
You know, so it's like Politico, how Mike Pence slowed down the response, right? Mike Pence role leading the White House corona, right? So this was April 2020. Trump tapped him. And remember, it was Pence who set up the deals, not Trump. Trump just, of course, is the president, signs off, but that's what you do as a president. You just say, hey, go do this. And I can say the same for Biden, right? Like, hey,
he's
CDC.
basically a CEO. Like, he's got people running different.
Right? Like, CDC, do your job. And then CDC's telling Biden to fucking say this shit. But it's like, as a president, you should be like, hey. But I think in Trump's situation, it is a little funky because if, like, you're getting the data and they're saying it's 95% effective and he's just like, yo, let's fucking roll.
Right.
Like, let's go. It works. All right, let's go. But you're still the president, so you still have to take a responsibility.
Right.
I think Trump can be exonerated if he at least admits to, yeah, I signed off on it. Pence told me it was great. The whole task force, the military, the DOD was involved, remember? It was all the fucking CDC involved. It was all the most prestigious Harvard doctors, all the people. But all these people, if they don't take some sort of responsibility, are going to go down.
That's the underlying thing of it, right? That's like even why Fauci being a Capricorn is so interesting, that he's the one that is the first to kind of step down and resign and not take accountability for it and responsibility, because that is exactly right. Like, we all have to be responsible for the choices we make and the things that we listen to or take in or do or tell people to do, especially. Like, if it doesn't work out, you better be able to sit there in some fucking integrity and say, I was wrong.
Read this, and this is coming from NPR, which is very liberal. When President Trump tapped Vice President Mike Pence to lead the coronavirus task force in late February, it was a moment of growing pressure. Stocks were tanking, and Trump needed to show he was elevating the federal response. A former Trump White House aide said Pence was the obvious choice, one of the few people left in the administration that Trump trusts, and someone with the stature to coordinate across agencies. So Trump didn't do that. It was first truly highly profile ongoing assignment Pence had taken on for Trump, and it represents both an opportunity and a risk for the Indiana governor, because if he fails at it, it's on him. But now they're trying, and I see a lot of people who, I'm like, are people forgetting that it was Pence who literally set this all up? Pence.
It makes a lot of sense why God put that fly on his head.
Right, the fly on his head, or even the craziness of how this January 6th commission, and they're making him look like a hero. But his downfall will be this, right? Like, it's like, it makes sense to have somebody like Pence involved, but it does present risks for any vice president with this kind of problem. A vice presidential scholar said, and it is particularly when your president operates the way Trump does. Well, I think it's a lot more. Like, if Pence were to run for president in 2024, this time will loom large. It also has a chance for him to show he can manage in crisis. So, no, right? But before long, Trump started attending the briefings too and dominating them. But he would, like, whenever they would do, right? This is back in 2020 in April. And this is Trump saying he had total authority to tell states when to reopen. Pence was careful not to openly contradict Trump, saying he supported the president's leadership. And then his trademark even tone, we're going to give the states guidance, and as the president indicated, we'll continue. So if you really think about it, the whole time Trump was like, fuck this shit, just stay open. Right? And
then, he was trying to get everything going.
Right? And like, who's holding that up? Pence.
I do feel like Trump definitely tried his best
But that's where,
keep things
I
moving.
believe in the deep state, right? Like, he puts it to Pence, who's been in the fucking government forever. And who's behind him? Fauci.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Look at that creep.
I know. And so, and then it's like, that's the whole problem is, look at, this is Pence talking about here. We have over 1 million tests that have been distributed, right? And Pence out in the country. And that's where, look at this back in the day. It's so weird to look back at this because people are putting it all on all this shit when it's like Pence is the guy who fucking... What is Operation Warp Speed?
Headed by Mike Pence.
Right? Look at, the problem is Trump. If the U.S. public doesn't trust the shot, Operation Warp Speed will fail. Yeah, you know what? Actually, it did fail because we did trust Trump and he was not trying to push it like as hard as everyone else. I mean, he did. He was just hoping that it would just work,
I feel like he thought there was bigger pressing issues than that, ironically enough, even though that was like the craziest thing going on at that time. I still
do you
think he was
remember
more
all the liberals
focused-
said, I won't take that shot because fucking it was made by, Trump and Pence and
Yeah, I remember
all that
that.
shit.
That's hilarious.
But it's so funny that they actually the ones that are fucking have been fighting for it. All the
I
people
know.
who voted for Trump didn't get it and don't want it.
I know.
It's all inverted,
Everything.
right?
What a weird everything.
Again, monkey.
He is.
So his step down, I think, you can tell in life people who quit because they've lost control and they've given up because they don't have the courage to either be responsible for their mistakes or two, because they are a little fucking, they never knew what the fuck they were doing. And it's now become too much. And this is definitely a time in your life to be like, are you going to really follow these people again? Are you going to really follow these institutions right now until there's a complete, full, transparent? That's what this Pluto return is in America. Like,
Don't hold your breath for transparency either.
no, it's definitely coming out, but
Yeah, it's going to come out, but it's not going to come out from the people in charge. It's going to come out from different sources and people researching, and it's not. I don't believe the government's going to step in any way anytime soon and say, we fucked up. Go live your life. Go do what you feel's right. Obviously, we were wrong. We wanted you to get something that was terrible for you. And you know what? From now on, we're going to let you do what you want to do with your life and put what you need to put in and take care of your own bodily autonomy. Don't hold your breath. just live that way. Don't be told to live that way.
I believe that there are people with ethics and standards and that are going to finally see all the data. Like, they're keeping the data from people and and distracting them on all these bills and all these other things. But the second, it affects, I wouldn't be surprised, Mitt Romney was somebody who I don't like, but especially because he was so concerned about it. He has 27 grandchildren,
Damn.
because he's Mormon.
Right.
And he was in those meetings with Fauci, and he was the only Republican being he was wanting it all. But I could see him where if the info came out being motherfucker, you know what I mean? And getting the intelligence committee and all these things and other Democrats too. I feel like the only thing that's going to bring the country together is the transparency of the biggest lie. So they keep using the term big lie about the election. The big lie is the shot. The big lie
absolutely.
is the whole CV. The big lie is that. And the
That'd
big
be
lie
great.
is connected to the election.
I'd
right?
love to see transparency from that place, but I'm not going to expect it,
The idea that
I'd love to see it,
the
though.
idea that the election was just all transparent and whatever is the same way of saying that, yeah, CV is just a natural occurring thing and the shot will work and everything's fine. Pfft. Same two things came out at the same time. No coincidence.
No coincidence there. All pure synchronicity.
So I think, yeah, to close it, I just think, we all deal with energies differently, and I know that it could feel crazy. I think we did a good job, though, tonight of helping people see ways to focus and put their energy in the right place. And that right place is beautiful and simple, and stop looking out the window for some new random thing that's just going to show up.
Right. It's here. You got what
You've
you
already
need.
got what
I feel like we're all the magician right now, and we have all the tools sitting on the table right in front of us, and it's like,
you got to do something.
there you go.
Yeah.
It's all here.
Yeah. And I feel like the more people step into that, I mean, the more that you want to. This is kind of a weird moment too, because I always agree we have to be working on our shadow work, but with the South Node in Scorpio, I almost feel like it's like,
take a vacation from it.
yeah, no, more like stop making it everything. Stop being like, I'm having a problem and I need to go so deep into my shadow and do the shadow work. It's like, this is where you do the opposite. The healing of shadow work is making beautiful
It's doing
things.
something constructive with it.
Yeah.
I feel like the shadow's great because it can push us. And I feel like right now we're at a point where it's like, okay, let's use it for something. It's almost like fuel. It's like when, I don't know, you get beat by a team real bad in sports or something, analogy like that. Like next time you play that team, there's something like, I want to beat this team. Like we can go into that place with ourselves. Like I kicked my ass at this point in my life and I had to deal with it again. But how do we get back up and use that as some fuel to move forward and use these tools and create in life right now, instead of sitting and licking our wounds,
Right.
It's not going to get us where we need to go right now.
No, it's not going to heal the wound. You can only heal a wound when you let it go and let it scab and let it heal.
Right, and that just
and move on and you just keep moving. You put it in very Taurus, right? You put a Band-Aid on it that actually looks like the skin color of whatever, you can buy them in every skin color.
Yeah.
I always say Taurus is the Band-Aid that actually, it's beauty, it's physical, it makes it feel better.
It actually stayed on.
It actually stays on, well, no, there's some that stay on.
Some do. Some
But
don't.
that's the weird part of Venus is its beauty and its creation and the idea that people are afraid of beautiful things now. And because of some sort of past trauma or fear or walls or boundaries, the boundaries are meant for those moments where it's encroachment, and those boundaries are for when it's like, no, you're trying to force yourself in, you're trying to inject yourself in,
Literally.
that's where the boundaries stay up. But every other boundary should be looked at as hey, is this a beautiful thing for me and I like this?
That's important.
What are you doing? This, I mean, once we come into Libra too, holy fuck, man.
It's going to be recalibration.
Especially September is a month where with Saturn and Pluto stopped, Uranus not retrograde, so many planets retrograde, it's going to feel like there's not anything out there. But that's why it's you need to get your wheels turning on the things that you can. Like you said, the Magician card, what's been presented to you, do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
All you can deal with is what's been presented. God has got the greatest fucking most amazing shit ever made in your life already presented to you. The idea that you have to wait on something that's not there is fucking lunatic. That's the fucking lunacy.
Yeah, I feel like you'll feel insane come the end of this year.
Yeah, using the Neptunian energy to imagine what you have seen and doing something with it, opposed to trying to still look beyond to the outer edges of the universe for what's not there. It's like the James Webb Telescope was launched, this spring. when all the planets were direct and all that shit. So of course it took new pictures of Jupiter. It's crazy to see Jupiter in infrared, right? And you can see the ring and all this crazy shit.
I want to see that.
Oh yeah, the Jupiter pics are.
Yeah, show that. I haven't seen it yet.
But like, that's what I'm saying is like, you use the tools that right now already have been presented, already there for you. This is not a time to be like, I want to look at the universe with another telescope. Like,
right.
You're a fucking idiot.
The one you need.
You're a fucking idiot. I want to have a relationship with somebody I haven't like that's out there in the universe. I don't know. Like, good luck. It's just getting to go meet them, talk to them, connect with them. There's something that just doesn't. So like, people are in the free will community is my number one most fucking biggest I'm gonna be nice, but it's just like, God, I just keep hearing free will. I'm like, no.
There's a divine order. There's free will. Like, I had free will to do that, but it's like the big events in life aren't usually free will. They're predetermined, you know?
Yeah. And I think that people have to, you know. Yeah, so this shows the aura is how ironic.
It looks
right?
like Uranus. Jesus
Well, it's
Christ.
infrared. Remember that.
Oh, okay.
Right. So we
Uranus
never
is
had an infrared.
That's crazy.
Like super high quality, right? But you could see the auras on the poles, right?
Mm-hmm.
See how that north's kind of aligned a little bit different, right? Or like, look at that, the great red spot. The other picture I love because it shows. Oh, this is the high def. Yeah, look at that. So, fucking.
One of its moons.
Yeah, and then look at, you could see the ring around it. Right. That's
Oh,
great
God.
gas giant, right?
Jupiter has rings. Saturn's influencing. I'm just
Well, if anything, those rings have been dissipated because Saturn's rings every day
They
dissipate.
do dissipate, yeah, just a little bit.
Right? So
yeah.
the control systems are always never going to
Always
win.
disintegrating.
But
I love that analogy.
Like, right? Because Saturn's not growing its fucking rings; it's dissipating.
Jupiter's always growing.
and Jupiter's dissipated to where it's almost got no more ring left.
Yeah, Jupiter will be a star someday.
Yep. So it's like, look at how the interesting blue too, like, you know, or even like that fucking like. I mean,
Jupiter's
I think
such an acid
the
trip.
size of Earth is like, you know, I think like basically like that right there, right? You know, like, but. It's been interesting that they went to Jupiter first with this telescope.
Right.
Or did you see the new moon pic?
No. I need to look at these pictures. The first
look
ones
at
they
how
put
it's all
out of the
astrology
stars were just
pictures.
like, meh.
This is the craziest pictures of the moon that have ever been fucking seen. Oh, is this the... No, that's the full moon. Oh, get me out of that. Let me get rid of this.
Can't be that one. I've taken better pictures of the moon than that one.
I know. New pictures of the moon. And it was done by here we are, 23 hours ago. Look at this shit.
Wow.
Look at this shit. These guys took 2 years. They're privately funded. Right? It's kind of weird because it's like almost kind of trying to kind of see some of the dark side of the moon shit, but not because like it's getting...
Well...
They're definitely coming at an angle.
It's not full
They're coming
yet.
from another quarter from the other quarter, like if that makes sense.
It's like they didn't catch it on a full moon. They caught it at like a little bit after a first quarter square.
Yeah, and they're on the shadow
waxing
side
divot.
of the quarter because that's where you can see the color, right? We don't get to see the color because of the sun's like luminary energy on in the reflection. But that's the color. Like there's some other ones too.
Dude.
Look at the. So yeah, like were you so used to seeing that? right?
I don't know, man. It's crazy, like seeing that, and then my mind kind of goes to the reflective stuff and the bigger Earth and that.
Well, okay, so
that almost is wild to me, right? Because then it actually shows like bodies of water, you know, and then where it shows desert, so there's like that land on there that looks like that Martian kind of land that you see from Mars rover landings. So it's like, who's to say that the Mars footage isn't just another place on giant flat Earth? I fucking love thinking about that shit.
Right? It's like these guys have gotten some massive... The color in this image is real, but presented with increased saturation, so it is easily visible to the eyes. The reddish tones demonstrate areas rich in iron and feldspar, which the bluish areas in the spots is rich in titanium. I feel like they're going to try to go to the moon to try and...
They lost the technology.
Well, I think they're going to try and take like actual like iron and all the stuff that they want from the moon, right? They might even be doing that on the backside already.
I don't know,
right?
maybe.
It's a
great mystery.
It's insane because you know how there's the, you know, right? Like
the crater Earth.
Like crater Earth.
Yeah.
So I went to the area that he says the crater Earth is, which I think it's this right here.
Mm-hmm.
With the oceans and the continents, that would be right there. Right? And it's weird that there's this big fucking weird spot on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you have not looked up Crater Earth and got into that, we're not going to do that on this show, but
maybe another time. But it's funny.
It's funny
it's
because
funny, and it's who the fuck knows? So I think it's just fun to twist our minds.
He's on to something, though.
I mean, he presents a lot of.
I mean, now that you see a better picture of the moon,
yeah, it's kind of cool.
It's kind of like maybe he's on to something. When I look at this fucking clarity,
right?
Like, how have we had all this technology for so long, and finally two guys who aren't part of NASA just like fucking just like straight up just like, well, hey, we're gonna go do what you don't do. And that's the whole thing. Like, stop waiting on the government to come up with stuff.
Right.
Do it on your own. Like,
that's those guys just had the technology. They had the equipment.
Shit.
They took these pictures are amazing.
In the middle of that, you know what I mean?
That's
like,
Epcot.
And right? Well, actually, I think the Epcot thing, if you go into that whole weird
it's probably right there to the left.
It's either this or I don't know what. He's gonna definitely, now that he saw this, come out with a huge. Look at that. That, you know what that reminds me of? It's like the ocean.
Right.
Right? Like the bottom of like ocean or seashells or like weird things that come out. Like definitely there was water. Right? And you know what? How I know this is a real picture? Because you can see the stars behind
Amen
it.
to that. Everything NASA puts out, you can never
I know.
see the
They
it's
don't.
so weird.
It's or the International Space Station.
It's so weird.
Videos or the fly that was on the cosmonauts 2 weeks ago. That I'm like, wait, what?
The fly cracks me up. That's not the first time that's happened.
Like, it's like, thank God that there's fucking people in private, like they're just doing it on their own, and they have a passion and a love for it, and like they did their Capricorn destiny and they fucking have achieved it. So I think it's like, don't ever give up.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
To get this, like, I want to just put this as a fucking image. It's so fucking badass, like on a fucking frame. That's the best. That's like the best. Like, I love the planet pictures, but this, to me, and this describes Cancer so well
desktop
now.
Background material
like
written
Cancers and the fucking different colors of emotions. I've always called it the crayons, the 64, crayon color and the RGB. It's like, oh yeah, Cancer blending this. Oh, I'm hot. I'm cold. I'm blah, blah, blah. Like,
look at this comfortable place. Look at this not comfortable place.
And then this is like barren white here, and then we're like, like
I'm gray. I'm dying.
Or like if Cancer has a pimple, oh, it's the end of the world.
Fuck.
It's the end of the world. You know what I mean? Like, oh my god.
No bueno.
Like, the craters. Like, like it's so like. God, don't look at my scar. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't look at that. Like, you know, like it's so cancer. Like, it's so cancer. It's like, and like that there's water, or like, well, yeah, I planted this great area of this forest, but that's my ex and I blemished that out. You know, like, yeah, exactly. Emotionally, just keep that fucking all blah. And what an illusion, right? Like, I never even in my head ever conceived that there would be this color. I always just thought it was just like,
right. Oh, it just looks white.
I know
gray.
that they said that they oversaturated it to see the color, but it means that there is color, and it means that
I kind of wish they took it on a full moon, because I'd like to see that other.
I don't think that they would be able to. You have to, the way that the sun's hitting the moon on that quarter,
it'd be too, okay.
and they're coming from the whole other side.
Yeah.
To be able to get that, because if it was a full moon, you couldn't get the color. It would be too bright. It would be too overexposed.
Yeah.
Right. But whatever cameras and telescopes are using for this, the overexposure, or to deal with the exposure rates, would be insane to do this.
Yeah, they're probably using like a.
Oh, I bet you
f-stop.
like a fucking $1 million telescope camera, fucking. Like, it looked like.
It's amazing. It's almost like there's a galaxy in the moon.
I mean, it's like a big crystal rock.
I don't know what it is. I wish I knew, but it's beautiful. I love the moon. And I think that's by far the most epic photo
Look at the
ever
twins
seen.
in that, and how it's flipped over. See that?
It's the twin embryo.
I mean, if you're a Cancer or Cancer rising out there, God bless you.
Right?
Like, I could only imagine what it would feel like to look like that.
To feel like
Fuck
that.
it, or feel like that? Wow, that's a lot.
It's on the opposite side for
That's
me. I'm
a
like,
lot.
whoa, that's a lot.
Cancer Venus, Cancer, you know, like, wow, that's a lot.
Bless your souls. Call me.
At least, you know, when we see the sun and we see all that shit lately, especially with all the fucking solar flares and stuff, it's like, okay, like, that's, as a Leo, I'm like, that makes sense. And at least it's pretty predictable color-wise to me, and like, you know.
The sun's interesting though. The sun used to be more white when I remember looking at it as a kid. It was more like, it was more yellow.
More
it's
yellow
gotten
now.
more
That's more
white.
white. Well, it's because it is changing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Especially the galactic shift. Just part of that, and the new reality that flipped on us, like new dimensional reality.
Everything.
Like,
everything
I never
flipped.
thought
All the
I'd be
poles
sitting
flipped.
here doing a show and for over 10 years on astrology and horoscopes, and that was not in my fucking peripheral at all. And then 2012 fucking was like, this is my full-time gig for real. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit.
Hey man, ditto.
But there's just something about, and the crazy part is the dark side of the moon, right? Where it's like, we've never really gotten pictures from there.
Well, I don't think that's actually the dark side of the, unless
because remember, the moon always
where'd they
faces
take that
one
photo
way.
from? Because it's not full. So, I mean, that's just the side we always see that. It's just, it wasn't a full moon. So there's a shadow there.
Well, no. So like, think about it. This would be a quarter moon, whether it's a 3/4 or a quarter.
It was a 3/4. Waxing gibbous. At least from the northern hemisphere perspective.
Yeah, and that's where I think that's an interesting point, because if it was the other side, it would be coming the other way. But it doesn't. What I'm trying to say is it really doesn't matter. It could only be taken by a quarter or 3/4 moon.
Whatever they did an amazing job.
And I'd love
to see that detail full moon. I don't know if they can do it or not, but
this backside is always dark.
Well, the other side, I don't know if I don't know.
No, what do you mean? It's one side that always faces.
I don't
us.
even know if there is another side. I think it
No, this
damn
shows
well be a
this
reflection.
shows that there is.
Oh no, that's just dark because it's
But
not
do you
getting
notice
sunlight.
also that there's not as much? Oh, there is. Look at that spot. Like, I want to. That's the
there's shit
shit
over
and
there.
around that corner that we've never seen.
If it's there.
If it's there, I know, but I'm just saying though that like this is the first time to even see the other, to go into that realm. So emotionally, this is the best way to put it. We've all now, because this has happened, that's the funny area that we all are feeling right now in our lives because we've never seen it before. That's deep.
I'll take that.
That makes sense? Like,
yeah.
That's the deepest part of this picture is the fact that, oh shit, we're able to see on the crest.
And we can't really see,
Right?
but we can see.
Right? And you can tell that there's not enough light, right? Like, so, like, that's what's so fucking nuts about the whole fucking thing. It's fucking nuts. But understand, you know what? It makes sense with the crab in the sea and the ocean, like in like the, you know, like you find crabs by like, you know, pieces of rock that have like that kind of like, you know.
It looks like a tide pool, kind of.
Yeah, but you know, when you like, you know, like you can be in the middle of the desert and find this shit. You know what I mean?
Where water once was.
Where water once was, and it's just like, we're in, you know, there's some like, you know, and I know people think it's a base, but when you see this, like God doesn't build in straight lines, so it's like this definitely is not.
Oh, it's meant.
It's
perfectly divinely meant to be there.
It's definitely from God. It's definitely not a base. Now, it might be a base on top, on the other side, or something like that, but inside, there could be too. But I'm saying that it was originally formed from God. I don't think this thing was placed here.
No. I don't really subscribe to that it's a spaceship or something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like it could have been converted or whatever, but it was originally natural from God by looking at this in such detail and looking at the organicness about it.
But I still think it's a reflection of Earth, which is 100% put here by God.
Right. That's, I think, the irony of the whole thing is like, what if that's what we're living on?
And just one little tiny crater in it that we think is this planet, and that there's that much more out there that our consciousness isn't even ready for yet.
Right.
It's
especially
crazy.
Thinking, yeah, I know, like that's all mind-boggling. Because now you're starting to see like a character to the moon. The moon was always so like Casper, the friendly ghost or something, right? And it's obviously not. And so fucking crazy though that Jupiter and like,
yeah, that's an epic photo.
like there's no like that like bye that ring's dissipated and Jupiter's expanding and it's like Jupiter's ready to go through its huge moment. Saturn's getting weaker.
I love that. Yeah.
In its control and its rings.
I want to see the new pictures of Saturn too.
Right. And so the control systems and Pluto and Capricorn, like all this shit, the hexagram that's on top of fucking Saturn, like all these things are relevant to our humanity and what's going on. And people have to really start to, astrology is a lot more than like what house and what ascendant you are and what moon you have and all that. Like it's so much more. When these things come out, that's what changes.
Yeah, it just opens up the consciousness to
big time.
Like that, just seeing those pictures can change astrological interpretation. Like that's a download, you know?
Yeah, it makes me really feel for cancers. Like every emotional hit they take and they leave a mark. It leaves a mark in their soul.
Leaves a blemish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why they're very sensitive beings, and they're very protective and defensive of their emotions. And they can also be, you know, very intense with them and dark and light ways, right? But I feel like it kind of brings a little sadness to me, but also a lot of hope for cancers to look at this picture and be like, you know, you can take the hits, so don't. Like the moon's taken so many hits, it's insane.
Yeah, it's resilient as fuck.
It's resilient as fuck. And I think we all are, and all of our emotions are. So stop being afraid of emotion. Stop being afraid of feeling, because there's so much AI. There's so much. There's too many fucking implants now here. There's too many like weird prototype AI humans walking around, clones.
Just embracing
weird
being
shit.
human.
Like fucking feel and don't turn into that.
Embrace every feeling. We're so lucky to have them.
Yeah.
Actually.
Like that's the craziest part. So it was fun having another great talk, Spiritual Daddy.
It's so funny where this show goes.
I
like
know.
it gets so intense in some areas, and then we just have a chill kind of
Yeah, no, I
conversation
love
about
this.
that,
Well,
you know?
I think this is episode 7, which is the
Yeah.
spiritual number. So,
it went there. Yeah,
and
it was
like
cool.
last week was 6, which was Andrew Tate, and
Money and
how funny we were saying.
relationships
We
and-
looked at his chart and everything, and I showed that Saturn 9 of Diamonds he's in, period, and all this crazy shit, and we both were like, "Yeah, this fool's done," and that's what
it
happened.
got canceled.
Yeah, the fool got canceled the week we looked at astrology and everything. Like, oh yeah, this fool's got like no time left. It's done.
Yeah.
Especially with Mercury that was squaring.
I'm
his
still interested
fucking,
to see what happens
Mercury
with
in Virgo was squaring his Sun Uranus conjunction when he got taken out. Bye. So, you know.
That's just the first thing. He's got a lot.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, anyways, everyone, make sure that you join highvibe.tv. Just click down below on our apps. You can go to the app stores or go to highvibe.tv for the best deals, of course, to subscribe with 7-day free trial to watch all the exclusive videos, daily videos, and all the real intense stuff that's on High Vibe every day. Appreciate you all. Thanks so much, Brian. We'll see you next week. Please share these videos, like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next Spiritual Daddy. Adios.
Bye.
Bye-bye.